Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item will be the approval of minutes. Are there any additions, corrections, issues with the minutes? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Holmes, seconded by Commissioner Materi, to approve the minutes. Is there any more discussion on the minutes? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Next will be the approval of the agenda. I believe David Mock is not gonna be on the agenda, right? Is that?
He can't come, I
Okay.
guess he called this morning.
I can speak for him if you.
Okay, well, we can keep it on the agenda then if you're gonna, if you got something to bring up, okay. And then, other than that, are there any additions to the agenda? Not hearing any, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Everly to approve the agenda, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Materi. Any more discussion on the agenda? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Agenda approved. So the first item on the agenda would be the Braddock Cemetery. Commissioner Miller?
David Mockey wanted to speak about the road going up there. I believe it's about a half a mile long. And just to kind of keep a better eye on it, they had a funeral there, or wanted to have a funeral a year or two ago. They couldn't get up there and they had to bury the loved one somewhere else.
You're talking about this one?
Well, that would be the city cemetery, yeah, I'm
No.
assuming that's the
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Catholic one's right off the edge of the gravel.
No, the one you, yeah, right there, that's the one, yep. He's just gotta keep an eye on it and keep the gravel a little bit better than it has been. That's all he really wanted about that.
Okay. I think that's always kind of been more of kind of a minimum maintenance, almost kind of a section line. And
Well, up to
I
the
would say that-
cemetery is pretty decent.
right, I mean, it's better maintained than average because of the cemetery.
Right.
I think the best thing to do would be if they're thinking about having a cemetery, they should almost, or I mean, if they're gonna have a funeral, they should maybe, get a hold of us too, or, if they're
Right.
planning on something, we can probably go and, maybe
Okay.
tune it up or something, but. Cause I don't think they have a lot of funerals up there anymore, so that's probably, part of the
Right.
issue. Okay. Is that all you have for that?
That's
Okay.
short and sweet.
Alright. Next item on the agenda, the old and unfinished business, will be an update on the public nuisance of 8080 Highway 83 South Hampton. I know, Advanced Cleaning and Restoration had stopped and took a look at it.
You think it's all being improved, other than that blanket around the outside?
I mean, I would suppose there's been work being done there. I mean, improved is a matter of opinion probably, but.
Kevin emailed me photos last week that he wanted me to show. Most of them are from the winter, and I told him that you probably want to see more recent ones, but he wanted to show the progress. You want me to go through them?
Yeah, I mean, if you submitted them, might as well just take a look at them quick.
Here. Can't see it now, I guess.
So he's got that tarp up.
Does hanging a tarp
Basically
need a
just
building
cover-
permit?
He could basically cover everything up.
Yeah, it's,
Temporary structure.
yeah,
So don't they wanna clean it? Does it pass thing?
I didn't hear from them, I just know they said they were gonna take a look at it, but I haven't heard from them, so I don't know if they looked at it and didn't want to, or if they just haven't. You know, that was probably, it was after our last meeting, so it was within the last couple of weeks, so in fact, I haven't heard much probably, is, you know, I don't know if they're interested or not, so.
Are you the one that told him?
I just had contacted them because I talked to a few guys and asked if they were interested, and they said they'd take a look, and that's the last I've heard, so. I don't know. I mean, the only other thing that I had thought would maybe be something worth discussing would be would the city of Lytton be interested in working with the county on it? I mean, since they do have guys and equipment close to town, if they'd be interested in maybe cleaning it up, or, I mean, I'm not talking for free, I'm saying almost just kind of like a rated basis or something like that, if that's something. I mean, if it's getting to the point where we can't clean anything up, maybe we do take one guy or something, or two guys off the road department, one or two off the city, work together as a group, get it organized. I mean, that's another thought process, I guess, since it seems to be a touchy subject that not a lot of people are interested in taking on, so. For, you know, variety of reasons.
I can ask. You can
I mean,
ask.
just something to consider, I don't know, just something to consider was the idea that maybe we just, you know, take care of it ourselves, but instead of the county doing all of it, or the city asking them to do all of it, we just,
Pretty good at it.
I mean, you can take two guys from each crew for a day or two, probably get most of it compliance, that'd be the only thing to start considering, so. I guess for now, the only other thing to do would probably be to conduct some kind of inspection and see how it even is, because I would say these snow pictures aren't exactly helpful since we haven't had snow for quite a while, so, okay. Well, I guess we can explore that. I can contact somebody from the city board, see if that's something they're interested in doing.
I'll talk to Tyler.
See if we can work something out. I don't know, it's worth talking about, so. Okay, anybody else have any other, additions to that? If not, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which would be Bob Bauman with the road matter.
How do I do? I want you guys to see some of these, should I just hand them to you?
Josh.
I'll get these are all the same then, just.
Yeah, there's,
Okay.
These are all the same?
I think so, yeah, so
there's 4 pictures with each set, I should have stapled them together, but I didn't.
I had to use my cords to do it.
Is this on? Yeah. Sounds like it is. Is this, like if I hold the camera up, or do they come up there?
You guys
Yeah,
just
we
hold
should, right there.
camera's right there, so it'll be on.
Okay. We'll let it around.
There's pass them around.
up. First thing, we'll split them up together.
Okay.
2 of them for us. So, the first picture, I wanna just kinda do a recap, going back, 1920. For well over a year, maybe a year and a half, I was told, this is the county road, you know, the mailbox is just beyond, just over the hill here. And sometimes people think that our road is not good, but my point in bringing these pictures in, is that on, or is it gonna be on?
Yeah.
Well, no, we're not on live. though.
Yeah,
That
it's
gets
recording
recorded,
here.
so-
It won't be on there.
Anyway, I just want this picture to be seen, that this was the road that we had for about 2.5 years. You can see it's non-existent, there actually isn't a road. And my dad, who's, you know, almost 80 at the time, had to drive over a mile through a field and pasture that was a non-existent road to get in and out of here. And for well over a year, you guys and the road superintendent told me you'll fix our road. As you know, the FEMA project went through there. We had an agreement with Francis Crum, if he could use clay and dirt out of our, he would fix our road at the same time as this one. Everybody knows the history, the roads were a complete mess. We waited and waited, you know, not to get in front of the line of everybody else in the county, so we waited over a year, and then all of a sudden it evolved into, there was Indian Native American artifacts on our pasture, so we can't use the clay, and then it evolved into, well, we might get to it when we can, and then it was even if you're on our list, you're gonna be at the end of the list, and then pretty soon it was, we're not gonna do it. Okay, so then in time, some neighbors, felt sorry for dad or whatever, showed up and started hauling dirt in there, built a road, all the dirt on both what you guys are, this road was maintained since 1964 by the county. It's a section line, and it's, what is it, 17th, 16th Avenue, whatever it is, there's a sign up there. And, you guys use the excuse not to fix this, so that it might flood again, and it also goes around the body of water, which I would say, there's a lot of roads that go around the body of water. If you ever drive up 1804 or go by Moffett and Long Lake, the road highways go around water. So this road was put there, and then the agreement I have from the board in front of me, you guys said that you were gonna, Aaron Magrum said you're gonna do it once, do it right, and then kind of abandon the road. And you asked my sister and my dad and I to sign an agreement to that, and I knew if I wouldn't sign it, nothing would happen, so we signed it. You guys went out there and did approximately, in my opinion, I'm not a road person, maybe half of the work. You hauled some rock in there. I found out later from Open Records request, you put 2 loads of gravel in there and you left. And I repeatedly asked if you had finished what you promised me you would do, and you said, no, you won't. You, Aaron Eggert, said that to me. Now, I have 2 pictures here. This picture is your work. I believe Francis Crum hauled in this rock, and what you didn't know is I hired Russ Lawler to do it at the same time. So when you guys did this job, a day or 2 later, within a week, Russ Lawler come out and he did it right. Here's his work, done the same time. So I called you guys immediately and I said, what you did is not sufficient and it's gonna wash away. This is just a short while later. It did wash away, and this is just the beginning of it. I didn't have a better, I got a picture where it's over my head. You know, I'm 6 feet tall, there's like 7, 8 feet drop-offs in there the next year. So I'm simply here today to ask you guys to do what you promised me to do. I have this letter here that Mr. Hanson wrote up, and it says, where it starts, that you guys are gonna gravel it. You didn't gravel it. So this summer, sometime this fall, or summer or fall, I should say, I want, you guys hauled some rock in there. I don't know, I think it was, the Open Records was like a dozen loads. I hauled in 65, I think, loads of rock. Because you guys refused to do the east side, there's water over there too, not as many waves, whatever, it's agreement agreed to. Anyway, I want you to finish your job that you promised you would do, or I can do it, I have arrangements in place to get it done, and I can just send you a bill for it. So I'm asking what your choice is. Don, Aaron?
My opinion is, I guess we said we did what we said we were gonna do at the time, and you signed off on the deal, and, as far as I'm concerned, we're done with that matter.
You deceived me. You didn't do what you said you were gonna do. This is doing what you said you would do it right, like Russ Lawler did it. This is your work.
Well, we told you how many loads of rock and gravel we'll give you, and after that, you signed that agreement, and that was it, you were done.
You told me how many loads of rock and gravel you're gonna put in
Well, I
there?
don't know if they, I mean, I told you how many loads, they told you how many loads of rock and gravel they put in there. So,
Does this look completed to you?
well, I mean,
Is Russ Lawler that much better than you guys?
maybe he is, I don't know,
You guys incompetent, or are you lying to me?
maybe he is. I mean,
It's
that's
gotta be one or the other,
the
right?
way it is.
You gonna believe me or your lying eyes?
What's that?
Are you gonna believe me or your lying eyes?
Well, I mean, I guess what we did what we told you we're gonna do. I don't even know why you're bringing this up again, because this wasn't even, when you signed that agreement, that was it. We had our arguments before with that deal, and we said that was it, and that was it. So now you're bringing it up again, I don't know.
Okay, well, here's the thing. We agreed to do something and you didn't do it.
We did what we
I
said we were
mean,
gonna
if
do.
I sell you a bale for $100 and you bring half a bale, you're gonna say, okay, I'll pay for it? I don't know, that's not a good example. I wanna ask Dan Materi, because I think he's the only one that looked at it. He's my representative in our county where we pay taxes. And Dan, I just want you to verify that what I'm saying is accurate.
Well, it's pretty explanatory right here on the photos. You can look in the initial onset of this here. There's only 2 rock placed on this embankment. You can look up here in Russ's on the back slope of it and the rock that are placed there. Maybe, there's individuals or somebody here that did the work that could talk about it.
Well, I think Francis did the work, right?
Yeah.
So, I guess. He wants to speak about it, he can, I guess, I mean, but,
Like me to?
what's that?
Would you like me to?
Oh, Francis is an employee. Well, yeah, go ahead. There must be a reason.
Thank you, commissioners. So the full history of this here is the fact Singer's Lake is a very deep lake. Water can come up another 40 feet before it ever exits. When this all started with Mr. Bauman, he is correct. We made agreements there, we could get clay from him. That was actually for the federal aid road. We would have got some also to do part of his had the commissioners gone forward with it. But on multiple arguments, the county came to the conclusion they're either going to do the road right to elevation, that the farm, if the water came up high enough, the farm would be lost. That's how high the road had to be. Well, because of the cost constraints on it, it was very expensive. The commissioner said, here's how far we'll go. We will riprap the west side of that, and of course, where it goes into the farm, it becomes what Joe had considered, and the rest of us, a private drive. So when the commissioners agreed they're gonna haul this many loads of rock in there, been about 13 loads of rock, that's what was put in there. And then the gravel base was put on top. It didn't take but a month, water was going over that road. Here's what you also have to realize. The county did the west side of county right of way. They didn't do the private drive. The west side is a deep lake, takes the bulk of the wind and the bulk of the water at an angle. Of course, it's not gonna stand up. That's why the county commissioners only agreed to go so far and spend so much money. When we put the bids in to do the road on solid rock, both the left and the right and the top, and just put a gravel base over, the price of that became upward of $60,000, and the commissioners weren't gonna go that far. So that's the history of it, and I don't have the paperwork with me to give you the exact numbers, but the commissioners who were spending taxpayer money had come to the conclusion we're gonna do it right and do it all the way or we're not gonna do it. So they agreed to do this partial fix, as Mr. Bauman said, he agreed to it because he never thought the water would come any higher. Well, it did come higher. There was a point of time, and I sent you, Commissioner Magrum, you, Commissioner Everly, and I don't know, I had sent Commissioner Holm videos of water going over the top of that road almost 3 feet deep. And it only did that for 2 days and then it stayed shallow. But unless you're gonna fix that road right, 100%, at taxpayer money, it's not gonna stand up. So I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Bauman.
Thank you, and what you said was mostly accurate except one thing. After the road was built up, no water ever went over that road again, not ever, not even 1 inch. So to say that road was 3 feet underwater, that's just not accurate. It obviously flooded before the road was built, that's why Washer Lake, I mean, it was completely gone. But it never went over after the road was built, and could it flood again? Absolutely. I mean, there's no outlet for that lake. I think you said 40 feet, it's 30, whatever, 7 feet that could come up and flood. Holmes Farm, unfortunately, the other end of the lake flooded. It's never been, the water's down quite a bit now, but there comes a point in time, there's a lot of roads in the county that could flood again, that get fixed all the time. I mean, you make your bed in the morning, right, because you're gonna sleep in it again. I mean, it could flood, absolutely. Has it flooded in the last 5, 6 years? No. I mean, my dad's 82, he still lives there. I mean, doesn't he have the right to the road that he's had since 1964? Always been kept up, always been maintained? I don't know. When, you know, when we rode the school bus and there was a milk truck running out of it, the roads were fixed that weekend. Boom, done.
Well, Bobby, that's why we had you sign that deal, because you didn't wanna fix it right the first time. I mean, we said we would do our part.
Let me just touch on that, Mr. Francis Mason.
I have the, just for 1 second,
Yeah, sure.
I'll give it back to you.
Yeah.
So Chairman Magrum, if you look on May 12th, 2022, after we had done this road. Well, we didn't do a road raise.
I just found them pictures.
Right, but I had sent you multiple videos of the water going over that road. And it was, I had property in that area. Anyway, we had had 4-inch rain on my property, which is just a mile or 2 miles south of there. And I had come up that way and driven over and I took these videos. So water did come over the road after we did our riprap, and Mr. Russ Lawler did his riprap, so I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Collins.
Thank you. I guess I feel it's obvious that, you're right, we had this agreement, I feel you didn't do your agreement, and it's obvious because of the work there. You can see it, that's why I brought pictures. And I will probably, I mean, I have no choice but to complete the job now. I mean, I'm paying way more on this road annually than I pay in taxes, okay? So I'm gonna have to finish this road. My dad's 82 years old, he lives there. Every time it rains, you come down that hill, it's just grease. You go right 8-foot hole, roll his vehicle, and then he's dead. And you asked me one time in the commissioner meeting before these recorded what my dad's life was worth. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
Well, I said, you know, I mean, because you didn't wanna help do it.
Explain what you meant by what's my dad's life worth.
What I meant by that was, you know what, you're concerned about your dad, we all concerned about your dad. I mean, he's getting elderly already and stuff, so maybe you should take steps to help take care of him in a way that, you know, if he drives off these roads, even if he drives off on your side, what are you gonna do? I mean, his life is worth something, so I mean, it's your responsibility too to help take care of it, not just, you said it's our commissioner's responsibility if your dad dies out there. It's not ours.
I don't know if I said, I don't remember.
And then I said to you, what do you think your dad's life's worth? Is it worth something to you?
He had a little different tone that day.
Well, that's what I meant.
Okay. So I guess my options are to have it fixed and send you a bill, and if you don't pay it, then I'll get an attorney and probably sue you because of the agreement we have. And all I gotta do is, I don't know, Mr. Hansen's here, he's always been more than reasonable with me. Is that something you're excited to defend, or, I mean, you know, you made the comment one time, you brought a $5,000 check for that Whirlinger fence, and you said, well, we did something wrong, we wanna make, you know, we wanna review things if we make mistakes again, this is a mistake, in my opinion. I might be wrong, I don't know, it's just how I see it.
I guess, like I said, at the time, when we did that, you know, we said we wanna do it right, if we're gonna do it right, we're gonna do it right?
Then why didn't you?
Because you didn't wanna do your part.
No, here, let me address that, because Francis brought up a good point. We talked about raising that road like, you know, it was an option like 4 feet or something, level at the house. And here's what, from living there for many years, if you bring the road up too high, there's not enough culverts there for the water to go through. It comes in really fast from the east. So if you build that road up and you don't have basically a bridge there, you just have a few, you'd have to put like so many culverts in there. If you brought it up level to the house, it would flood the house immediately, because the water can't get through the there's only 3 culverts there, they're this big. I mean, we're talking about a volume of water that's, so to do that, you'd almost have to build a bridge or have these huge culverts along there. There's no way you're gonna do that, or it's not reasonable. So that's why we kinda nixed that. So we can put that to bed.
Well, I mean,
Well, that
that's
actually, if I could for a second.
Yeah.
That actually is why we looked at doing a solid rock road. We looked at bringing it up about 3 feet, just about a foot below the home, because we knew it's gonna dam up. But we don't even know if the culverts under that road are any good. There has to be some culvert access because the water does go down. But to cover things, couple of things, Bob, there was only probably 2 or 3 loads of gravel put under without the paperwork. I don't know what some of that is, because when we had done that project, the road was starting to soften. And even when Russ Lawler had done it, you know, it was a struggle to get the rock in there. But when you get all this water coming over, where does the gravel go? It all washes off the road to the west side. You aren't gonna keep gravel on that road unless you build it up out of rock. And the big thing was spending the taxpayer money to constantly come back and redo this here. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, Francis,
That's
in
it.
your
Hang on,
opinion,
hang on.
was there enough rock put on the road? Do you figure you had enough rock on the road?
What we did was where the county line starts, we'll dump semi-load after semi-load, all the way up to the end. The problem with that, Commissioner Holden, is this: When that lake got that high again, and we showed the water coming over it, it erodes the rocks underneath, and then large rocks that will eventually tumble down. Does it need a refresh of rock? Probably, because that lake from the northwest, it comes, the road runs straight, and the lake, the northwest winds drive at an angle, and it'll eat that dirt out. And we used large riprap, but Russ used a smaller riprap, and ours all came out of the knoll pit. And of course, they might erode and collapse down, it might need some refresh of it. Doesn't change the fact, every time you get a large rain, all that water is gonna come up around Leonard Weigel. It's gonna come down there and it's gonna come over that road because either culverts are really slow moving or there's so much water coming into it, it's gonna erode the road off. The road either has to be done right or don't do any more to it.
Just to, so we can move on from the flooding part, since 2019, it's been 5 years, 5, 6, it's either gone over not at all or once, okay? So, you know, every time we get a big rain, we've had big rains. It hasn't gone over, so in 6 years, it's gone over once, or not at all. So it's not like it's been flooding every month. So, anyway, I feel like I've stated what I want to, and I just, doesn't sound like you're gonna do anything, so I'll probably have it fixed and I'll send you a bill, and if you don't pay it, then I'll just get an attorney and ask and see where that leads. I don't know what else to do.
If you remember, Bob, Mr. Hansen here had done extensive study and he replied to Sid Gross on all these legal terms of what the county was liable at that time. Those open records can be called out again. And so that is something there, I don't know that the county would be liable for that. I don't believe they were at that time, Joe.
While I was doing the open records request, kind of in conclusion on this, I did also find out, because there was a lot of scuttlebutt about the 98th Avenue Road, and for just, I want to be on the record, this is open records request from right here in the county. A mile and a half off of 83 down to 98th, there's only one single residence there, and that's owned by Don Everly. And that road got 103 loads of gravel, 4 culverts, and about 250 man hours on it, you know. So I'm in here 10 meetings fighting for 2 loads of gravel, and there in Magnum, you also got 10 loads of gravel between 78th and 75th Street on 9th Avenue in front of your house. So Aaron Magrum and Don Everly got 113 loads of gravel on their roads, and I got 2. And I'm supposed to sit out here like a minion, begging you guys for work. And you say, you don't have resources, you don't have time. Well, you're gobbling them all up. How do you guys sleep at night?
First of all, that's not my road.
What?
First of all, that's not my road.
This road isn't mine either.
Yeah, but, I mean, I had no say how, who's gonna put gravel on that road.
Yeah, whatever. I don't believe you. You had no say. You guys have any questions for me? I mean, I don't wanna.
Well, I guess the only thing that I would like to address is how you call Old Highway 83 my road, but I have a list of about 70 names here, people that use that road daily, so to call that my road's pretty unfair. I mean, just because I
You can
live
tell
on
this is my road too is unfair. The county stocks that lake with fish, people come in and out all the time to use it. There was a boat in our corral recently. People go in and out of there all the time. There's no way to get in and out of that lake other than through our yard.
Well,
So, we're in agreement then, they're everybody's roads, right? Not just mine and
every road's
yours?
built the same.
Well, there's only 400 feet that the county owns on that road.
What?
I think the county only owns 400 feet on that
The
road,
county owns all of it.
not going into your yard.
Sure it does.
It's private drive.
Technically,
It's
the
not
county
private
doesn't,
drive.
technically the county doesn't own any of it, the county would have right of way in certain areas, but technically.
Well, we're getting in the weeds now.
That's exactly right.
So is the answer no, you're not gonna do anything? You're
I'd
not
say
gonna-
the answer is asking for a short-term 15-20 minute discussion and an answer of it's probably pretty unfair. So that's where I would say if anything, it's probably something that maybe needs to be discussed further, but if you're looking for an answer today, it's probably gonna be pretty.
It's been 6 years.
In my opinion, you signed the agreement, that was all said and done, and that should be a finished deal. That should have been done a long time ago.
If 2 people had come to an agreement and it signs it and half the work gets done, is that an actual agreement?
The work was done to
The work was done. even though I showed you the pictures.
We told you that.
Should I turn around and get a show of hands behind me, how many people think the work was done equally?
Do what you want, but I mean, I'm just saying that the work was done on that road that we agreed to, because, like I said, that road is gonna flood no matter what. If it gets more rain, it's gonna flood, it's taxpayers' money. We don't wanna waste taxpayers' money on stuff that's gonna wash away.
You guys keep saying it's gonna flood. We've had some rain this spring, it hasn't flooded. In fact, it's gone down a lot.
All right, well, we're out of time on the agenda for this. We have other things to do, so thanks for coming in, Bob.
Thank you for the time, I appreciate it. I just wanna be clear on something. Now, Dan, you're agreeing what I'm saying, that this is accurate? Cause you're the only guy I think that went out and looked at it.
Donnie was with me too.
Me and Dan went out.
Yeah. Okay.
I looked at it as well. I just drove by when I was in the area and I looked at it, so.
But do you see a difference though between the work the county did and the work that private contractors did, right?
Yeah, well, there's a difference. I think the big thing is the differences between the west and the east side as well. I think
No, this is all on the west side.
Well, we've reiterated over and over.
Well, no, I'm not letting you off the hook. The east side, there's no way.
Well, there's no hook I'm on, first of all, Bob. Second, I'm gonna tell you is that we did have an agreement because we didn't think that what you wanted was gonna last. What we wanted didn't last. That's what we did. We've litigated this from beginning to end, and it's time to move on.
Just for the
We have
record.
people here that wanna be on the agenda, Bob. We're gonna have to move on.
It did last. It's been there 6 years, and what Russ Lawler did is in great shape. Yours isn't.
Fair.
Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
All right. Next item on the agenda will be road issues in the southern part of the county. I believe Commissioner Everly put that on the agenda, so.
Yeah, this I put on the agenda. I appreciate you all coming. I thank you for coming in. I guess, I've been getting a lot of calls. They feel stuff isn't getting done, especially in the southern part of the county, but I think it's all over the county. And, people have been begging me and asking me to do something, and I guess I feel it's my responsibility as commissioner to bring it up and say something and do something about it. I guess you're the people that elected us commissioners, and I guess it's our job to support the public and do the will of the people. So that's why I brought this up, because I don't know what else to do, or, I'm tired of giving you guys lip service and riding the fence. I don't want to be that kind of person, so I'm trying to do what's right and figure out what we can do to make stuff happen and stuff, turn out for better for the county. I guess I was gonna just hope this could be a question and answer session for the people, and if you guys have questions for us commissioners or for Skylar, find out what the deal is or why stuff isn't getting done the way it should be. I know a lot of you think it's probably management. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But I know Troy Remick had a thing in the paper a couple weeks ago about holding us accountable for our actions. And I guess I think more I think about that, we are supposed to be held accountable for the things we do and say. And I know, like on Skylar's part, I know he was supposed to move down here. I think a lot of people feel that if he was living here, it would probably be better. He could associate with the public a little more. So I don't know. I know I asked you one time, Skylar, if you're moving down here, is you still intention of moving down, or?
No.
So, I mean, I guess that's what a lot of people feel, that you should be living here, be working with the people and stuff, And I know they got a big job to do, and there's a lot of responsibility, and can't be everywhere at once, but I think people want you here. If you want to do this job, they want you here, So I guess that's all I have to say for right now, unless I'm gonna have people ask questions for us or for them. We can try to work stuff out, I guess. So.
Well, I guess I'll start a little bit, Don, and I want to thank you for asking us all to come in. Maybe you waited a little too long, but, and maybe, I'm sure a lot of people will comment. It isn't working out there, plain and simple, It's not working. The roads are just declined the last few years to where, I don't know, you can't hardly pass. They're impassable at times. They're either so rough they shake the fenders off the vehicles pretty hard. So I think the blade operators got, first of all, too many miles. They can't cover that many miles. I mean, there's no way they can do justice to the roads of that kind of miles, so.
Well, they used to get them done back in the time. They used to always get them all done all the time. I think it's just part of the management, maybe, I don't really know, you know?
Lack of leadership.
Because, I mean, most farmers have been complaining that, they didn't even get, I don't know how many times they do their routes this year, right? They should probably be on their third time around, and some of the roads never even got done yet.
Once.
They haven't hit ours yet.
We haven't had anybody at ours, so.
They wouldn't buy with the blade up, see that quite a bit.
Yep, I see that a lot too.
Well, you know, that's the other thing that kind of aggravates me here, you know, you guys hired us to do a job, and we're supposed to do it. You pay all the bills, you pay us commissioners, you pay the road supervisor, you pay everybody. You buy all this equipment, we got, what, 8 blades out there? They're $500,000 a piece. That's $400 million, or $4 million. Well, $4 million, and then farmers see these blades go up and down the road with the blade up in the air, and a guy sitting with $45, $50 an hour, and that doesn't look good. So I can't blame the farmers for that. I mean, it just doesn't look good when you got a $500,000 blade and stuff's not getting done. I mean, we could bleep those blades at home if that's the case, you know, but.
I bladed for 5 years with the county, Hazelton route. If nobody bothered me, I didn't get pulled off. 2 weeks, at a 145-mile route. 2 weeks I could make my route.
Okay, but
A lot of people are saying they haven't seen a blade.
Well, that's like I said, that's all over the county. In the southern part of the county, last year in Emmons County, when we were short of help, we never got nothing down there at all, you know? And you know, for a manager, I guess I would think, well, if we get this part of the county done, let's take 2 blades or 3 blades to go down and get that done, or help them out there. I never tried to micromanage anything you do or anything, but, well, I mean, they gotta get service too down there, you know? And I don't know what the best way to do that is, but I mean, those people down there have been struggling too for a long time. Now this year they got a new guy down there, but they say you see him drive by my place 3 times with the blade up in the air, so I don't know what's happening, so.
The new guy down there, from what I was told, and you confirmed that, Skylar, he said, have you been down since he was hired last fall? You said, no, I haven't. I said, well, have you been down there this spring? No, I have not. So this guy's
Yeah, I
continued.
checked on them.
See, that's why, Skylar, that's why we wanted somebody you to move down here and live down here, kind of.
Well, during business hours at nighttime, they're not blading anyway, so.
Yeah, I know,
Call
but still.
24/7? Am I on call 24/7 for emergencies? Yes.
I mean, you should be
So people
involved.
can't get there to their house?
Hey, hang on. If we're gonna do.
Why are you interrupting me? Isn't this an open speaking session?
It is.
Yes. I
If
think
we are going to be orderly about it, then let's come up to the front and talk.
I am
That's
being
what I'm-
orderly about it. You are the one interrupting.
Well, I don't want 5 people shouting from the crowd at one
I
time.
hear you and me, and if you be
Yeah.
quiet,
Okay.
I can speak, and then maybe we can get addressed.
Okay, yeah, I don't want this to be a shouting match or anything, let's just.
So if a road is impassable and an ambulance can't not get down it, isn't that kind of an emergency?
Yes, I would say so.
Do you agree, Mr. Probowitz?
Yes, I would agree.
So doesn't that mean that you should be around when stuff like that happens?
I have guys on staff that will get phone calls.
Are they on call 24/7?
Well, according
Isn't
to
that your
everybody
job?
here in this room, yes, we're on call 24/7.
Yeah. They're not on call.
I would like to address that too, because I am a first responder, and there are 2 calls I haven't gotten to because I couldn't get to the roads. And that's a problem. And I also have children that go on the school bus. Berdine is here. You can ask her how many times we pulled the bus out, or pulled them up a hill, or pulled them out of a snowbank, so we could get the kids to school.
I would like to know how the routes are prioritized. Because shouldn't the school bus routes be first on the list, always, to protect the children first, so that the bus doesn't have to get pulled out? If you would agree with that, maybe you should stand up so we can see how many people agree with the school bus route getting first priority for these roads.
school bus manager.
You know, we're not trying to point the finger at one person here or anything like that, but just, I want you guys to come in and voice your opinion, what you got feelings we should do, or what should be changed, or how things should be changed, or what. I don't, like I said, I'm tired of giving people lip service. I don't know what to tell them anymore.
I don't either.
Dawn,
I was asked, quote, when I first got on the board in December, I asked Mr. Perlwitz, and nothing against you, Skylar, if you would move it on, if you made arrangements. I didn't know what your agreement was on the interview you guys had and the requirements. He said, I'm making arrangements, it'll take me a week, week and a half. The January meeting, I approached you again, sitting right up here at the table or at the desk. And you said, it'll take me a day or two possibly. Coming in February, quote, I asked you if anything's happened on your establishing residency. You said, no, there's other guys that commute back and forth from county to county. And I said, back to you, is that Morton to Burley and Burley to Morton or what? And then I was stopped,
You know,
that it was okay.
that falls on us too, because we should have followed.
Well, we should have followed through with it right away.
And I got thrown in on this deal and I had no clue. So you initially were making and establishing residence, according to what you told me.
Planning on it,
What happened to the plan?
decided that's not what I wanna do, and I was managing it just fine from where I was at.
No.
So what is the feelings of the general public?
Well, hang on for a second. Danielle's gonna stand, so.
That's okay.
Okay, well, I thought you had something to say,
Go
so.
ahead, Dan.
I do, but I can wait till.
Go ahead, Jim.
I want to ask Skylar, do you drive on the tax dollar back and forth? Do you drive a company pickup back and forth in our?
Just when I have to get parts,
Is that
not every day. Not every day.
Is that 3 days a week?
Some days it can be. You guys are all
Some days it
farmers, you know how
definitely
parts break down, we have a lot of moving parts out there.
Okay, we don't want to accuse anybody of being
Yeah.
We just want to try to figure out what the best
Go ahead,
results
Jim.
are for the
Then I
roads.
got one more for Aaron. We were in here about a year ago. You said if the roads get bad, you're gonna hire a contractor to help catch up. Have you done that in the last year?
Well, we hired 3 seasonal guys that we brought back, David Crum, John T. Newsma, and Terry Ibach to, kind of fill in that role of, it's tough to find a contractor because it's busy season right now. I mean, the few we have in the county, like Russ right now, is working on another project east of
We're
Strasburg. So
talking from last year to this year though.
right, well, I mean, we hired a contractor to do graveling around the Westfield area and stuff, and then we hired on additional summer help to help out. And I know as far as like the Cattail Road, we've been prioritizing that area a little more. I know talking to Dave Ellingson, he's been blading it, I mean, as much or more than any other road.
The 2 mile road from the highway down to Larry Vanderhorst to the corner, it gets bladed. From the corner into Cattail, this is the first time we've seen the blade today.
Okay.
That's the general consensus I hear, that we just never see the blades. And we got a bunch of blades out there. They're worth a lot of money. You guys paid for them. And I guess,
We've got, and I feel we have to sub out a lot of this work on placing culverts because we don't have the manpower to place some of these culverts or the expertise, in my opinion.
yeah, but the roads in the spring are the most important thing.
Granted, that's why I'm saying we need to sub this out
This time of year,
and keep the guys on the blades.
This time of year now,
How come
it's
we're
too
able to
late.
keep the roads up after year after year after year, even up until 2 years ago? And now in the last 2 years, it's just completely fallen apart. What is the big thing that changed?
Well, I don't know, but it's
I
just,
do, and I think everybody else here knows too. Overloaded semis.
Okay, so I have an opinion about this. And it is my personal opinion. Feel free to agree or not agree. It doesn't matter to me what is my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. In this county in the last several years, and it goes back beyond 2 years, but the last several years, there has been a complete breakdown. No accountability by the commissioners, no accountability for any of the workers. Now, when Skylar was hired, he was to move down here. You guys all on the commission dropped the ball. You didn't enforce that. Over the last 2 years, just since he's been here, he's driving the pickup back and forth continuously. You have told him, supposedly, you don't want to see it going back and forth. All the parts places in Bismarck deliver. I used to work for parts places. I delivered parts places. I ordered from parts places in Bismarck. Every place in Bismarck that the county should be getting parts from has routes down here several times a week. There's no reason he should be running for parts. We have an overpaid price runner in a $60,000, $70,000 pickup that the taxpayers are paying fuel for. He was given extra money when he was hired so that he didn't drive the pickup. Well, nobody held him accountable. He's driving the pickup. He was supposed to move down here, decided he doesn't want to. Nobody held him accountable. Took him off probation and gave him a raise, no less. Nobody did their due diligence when he was hired and checked his background. He was written up for insubordination. I've sat here myself in these meetings, watched him specifically be insubordinate, rude to you commissioners. Nobody's holding anybody accountable. When the taxpayers come in and try to hold you accountable, sorry, Mr. Magrum, you run off at the mouth nonstop to hear your own voice. Everybody gets tired of listening to you. So they shut up. Shut up and let anybody else have an opinion.
Okay,
You talk circles.
Danielle, we don't wanna
So
insult people here. We just wanna,
I'm not insulting anybody. I'm telling you my opinion.
okay.
It's fine, let us,
We
that's
just wanna-
fine, let us,
So-
that's fine, Don, let us talk.
That is how I feel. You commissioners shouldn't be calling blade operators. There needs to be a hierarchy. You should go to the supervisor should be then putting it out to your blade operators. Commissioners, residents should not be calling blade operators to come and do this. There's a complete breakdown in this system and it needs to be fixed. It's costing time, money, residents, safety. We're tired of it. And I'm glad Don made phone calls and got people in here. I've been coming off and on when I can.
Well,
It's about time to fix this problem.
We are supposed to be held responsible for the taxpayers. That's what we got this job for, to support the taxpayers. And maybe we drop the ball sometimes, or a lot of times, but you know what? We gotta try to make it right now, somehow. Do something to
Yes.
change things. And I don't know what it is, but
Yep.
that's why I wanted some of you to come in here and voice your opinions, or see what you have to say.
Guys, don't hesitate to voice your opinion. Speak it, because here's the chance to speak it.
I think you just simply need to have a plan, because to come to these meetings and do all this is great, and it's good to get some exposure to it, but you have to do something. You guys need to make a plan starting today. What's gonna happen, how's it gonna be improved in a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year? Get a whiteboard, draw it out, do something, make a plan and follow through with it, do a step-by-step process, because if we just come in here and do this, something's very, very wrong. Otherwise, we wouldn't all be here. When I was a kid in the 70s, all the roads, the milk trucks, the school buses went, all the roads were worked all the time. You look at technology, how it's advanced, whether it's a computer, a vehicle, a tractor, a combine, everything advances. It's like we're going backwards here. We got this fancy equipment, people, like you guys said, nothing's getting done correctly. Something's wrong. Figure it out and fix it, and just make your best effort, because we don't want to keep paying money, and I'm paying more money. I'm paying a lot more money personally to fix roads than I'm paying taxes. And there's, you know, it's a unique situation with me, but you just got to do something. Heck, when I was a kid, the section lines got hit once a year.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, all those roads got bladed, and this
Yeah.
year, we never had no big disaster this year. It was actually a perfect year for blading. Rained a little,
Well,
got a little dry.
yeah, and to add on that, Don, you're right, you could have worked a lot of the winter. Last winter, you could have done a lot of road work.
Yeah.
And I do have a specific question, because I don't know any details. I was told last year, and I don't know if this is accurate, we spent somewhere around $400,000 or $500,000 and hauled like 1,000 loads of gravel somewhere in the southwest part of the county, and I believe Sherbinsky did it. And I've heard some people say the roads really aren't any better. Well, really? $500,000, what's wrong with that picture?
Well,
Can you speak to that? Because I'm curious.
Well, I guess
about
the West people, they got most of the gravel down there, and I know a lot of them still complaining down there, roads haven't got any better, really.
It's spotty though. You
It's
can
dirt.
tell exactly where the gravel was dumped and where it wasn't. It's sections. So if you took a drone and flew over that 8-mile road that goes into Campbell County, you can totally tell where the gravel was dropped and where it wasn't, because those spots are pristine. My mud flats on my very expensive four-wheel drive SUV are completely ripped off from that road.
But the only
It's
problem,
insane.
the only problem we have though is we can't gravel the whole county in,
I understand, but the gravel
Make a
is
plan.
helping. You
Do a
have
little
to make
bit.
a plan to
Do a
get
little
more
bit.
gravel on these roads.
I feel a little bad, and I'm gonna speak it. There's one individual sitting in here that came and approached me with a bid to take on one route with his machine, and it was Russ Lawler sitting in here, to my left and forward. And it was denied, because he was willing to go and cut that route and prove what can be done on these roads. And he was totally denied because of the fact, we had equipment setting and it wasn't being used. But it'd been a good example within the county what can be done if it's managed properly
well,
and know what you're doing on a blade.
we had the same thing down in the Hague area with David Crum. Okay, he would like to come back. I mean, he would like to work again, and well, some of you guys don't really like that. Well, get over your animosities towards the man and let him do his job. Guys should hire him, pay him a decent wage and let him do his job. He said he would work, you know, David Crum said he'd like to come back. These people in this room were begging him to come back. They wanted him back in the southern part of the county. Yeah, he was humiliated the last time he was here. But that wasn't all his fault, that, what happened there. So now he said he'd come back.
He knows how to run a blade too.
He knows how to run a blade.
David's good.
So he wants to come back, but he said, you know, he said, I'll work for the county. I don't want to work full-time. I'll work all summer long. Just, all I want is a fair wage. He said, I don't want any of the benefits, any of that stuff. Just give me a fair wage, I'll work. If it rains, I'll stay home. So how could that be that's a good deal for the county. It's not costing us
He
anything.
is working right now.
He's working, but he's only getting, what do they pay him, 26 bucks an hour? What the hell's 26 bucks an
Well,
hour?
that's part of the agreement with the part-time help right
Yeah,
now.
but I mean-
If we make special
Oh.
arrangements, yeah, but right now, that's what the agreement was.
Well, right away it was 32, now it's down to 26, but you think that man, everybody else with those blades, like I said, they're $400,000 blades. Half these guys, or not half of them, but the ones that don't know how to run them, they're getting $45, $50 an hour with their benefits. They're not doing anything, they're lost out there. Now we got a guy that will blade and we can't give him 35, 40 bucks an hour. And no benefit, he doesn't want any benefit.
You can't include benefits when it's part-time to full-time.
What do you mean?
Well, benefit is for full-time people. You can't put that on the part-time because they're only here part-time.
Well, we can pay him a decent wage, because we know.
Well, I
what
didn't
he-
say that.
we
I'm
know
just
what he
saying
can-
you can't include the benefits there.
Well, he doesn't want the benefits.
But look at the amount look at the amount of time you guys have wasted. David would have actually come back in April already. He could have handled one route himself. You two commissioners were upset about this here.
Who's two commissioners?
You're on public record questioning it, whether is he still on parole or not. No, he's not.
Not on-
Skylar's been working with him.
He wouldn't know.
On
He
parole.
went
Probation.
from whatever they.
Probation, it's
32, 34, all the way down to 26. Well, you have to ask yourself something. Do you have a grade operator who wants to come back part-time and say he wants $30 an hour? Our regular grade operators, I'm assuming Marcy, are somewhere around 50 with PERS and retirement and everything. And he's only gonna work 4 months to grade roads for you. Why wouldn't you jump on that? You've now waited till almost July. We're finally getting some of our roads graded. He's grading all this grass and loose graveling. So now we're gonna fight windrows till this fall. That grader's gonna have to go around 3 or 4 times to bust them up. Where did you save money? Not only did our roads not get graded and recrowned, now the grader's running up and down, spending all this money busting them up. It is a management problem. It starts with you guys. When you get a grade operator that comes in, he's proven himself over 4 years. I don't care what your past is with him. You jump on that and you put him to work. I don't want to, it's one thing to say to bring private contractors in, that's fine. You got a guy that will come and work for you for a decent wage if you treat him right. Did it ever dawn on you? He'll go home in 4 months. He might come back for snow emergency removal. He'll go home the rest of the winter. And you might get him to come back in another 4 or 5 years till he can't do it anymore.
They didn't fire him, did they, when he was here?
No, he
He
quit.
resigned on his own because he was on probation,
He
correct?
was
But this
humiliated.
spring, Skylar was working to bring him back, and I watched multiple commissioner meetings where there was kickback.
Well, there was statements made, quoted, I recollect, being you're calling me out, Mr. Crum.
Just because.
Just excuse me, I'm speaking now.
Hang on. Francis, let's let Dan speak, you got the speaker.
There was, how did he say it on the record? He was disgruntled, he resigned. Then he brought a crew back to support him, to bring him back on board. I look at it, I'm not saying he's not a bad operator. I know things that are going on in a different county. A young man that was a hell of a good operator resigned because he got a better job. He didn't like where he was at. And I don't know, David, where was he at prior to coming back? I think he was in McIntosh County, correct? He left McIntosh. He was there before in McIntosh. Then he came back here to Emmons County, part-time. Am I right, Mr. Crum? He's
No,
hired
he's
part-time,
back
correct?
full-time. Now he's back part-time, I believe. I don't know where the position is right now, where he is. I'm making the argument, why wasn't he brought back in April? Because now all of our road structures in the southern part of the county are behind.
It's all due to David Crum, one operator in that area. He covers all of southern Emmons County.
One grade operator could do 150 miles. The other grade operators could do their routes. You're skin too thin right now. You don't have enough operators to run gravel trucks, side dumps, graders. So when you have a grade operator that will come in and you're quibbling around for $5, $10 an hour, I don't know what it is, and you're gonna spend an actual about $51 an hour now for a grader to go bust windrows up where he's trying to pull shoulders, it doesn't make sense.
How do you pull these shoulders? I don't understand this curb and gutter. When you've got sod and grass base, which is all root structure, and you're going down to these ditches and carving and bringing all this black topsoil up to make a road, and you bring a few pebbles of gravel, if you want to do this, from my thinking, just with common sense attached speaking, you take it, you rototill this grass off, you pull this sod down into the belly of the ditch, and then you bring the clay base on those shoulders up to the road and build this road like it should be, and then gravel it, and then bring your sod back on that shoulder and seed it.
Well, Danny, I think you'd be
Well, that's not
surprised.
working.
Is that how you do it or no?
That's not working. You got a rock sticking out of the road 4 inches.
Well, yeah, you gotta bring this clay back up to this road and build that road base back.
Well, see,
I
Dan,
would appreciate it.
that's where in the spring of the year, you gotta go do that. When there's no grass there, there's a lot of gravel in the ditch.
But you gotta toss that sod down in the ditch.
No, you gotta bring that up.
That's
Get that
all
gravel.
topsoil.
Well, I mean, these guys are the ones that build roads, I don't really know. But I
You
mean,
do have to realize, Commissioner Materi, he already had all his roads ground. He's not pulling stock, he's sweeping shoulders, grabbing all that loose gravel, bringing it, grabbing a little binder, putting it on the road. The problem is when you don't grade in the springtime, the grass and the weeds all grow, and you can't do it during the summer. So now we have roads that are 16 feet wide. There's very little gravel on them, most of them are inverted, and now the mess starts again. It's been 4 years improving all these roads, and so did all your grade operators. You have Dave Ellingson, Cody, all these guys were doing good work. What the hell happened? And it starts with you guys.
I have to agree with Francis. When David was laying our roads, he was pulling up the roads. He was bringing up the sod and everything. He just never had no management behind him to bring gravel back on those roads. So you got 10 hundredths of rain, 20, and it turned into a soup mess. But if he brought something up to some binder, but there was just no gravel to mix in with it. He was bringing up the roads. He had crown, the water actually ran off the roads. He was making the roads narrower. We're flattening them out too.
Is this sod binder? I don't understand that.
It's better
topsoil.
than a flat road and the water going into the road.
But I think it should be pulled down and then pull the base on that, because those roads mushroom out
Yes. that's-
from weight. And we're all guilty
It's
of
mushroom-
weight.
It's mushroom out, so where's it going? It's obviously part of the sod and everything. It's a binder, it's a mix of gravel and dirt and everything. They're pushing down, it's not like it's disappearing the binder, it's going to the
well,
side.
Dan, you look at the roads that David did over the last few years. They were excellent. They were good roads down there. I think most people would agree.
You just
with
never
that.
got no gravel to fall.
Yeah, but I mean, David did a good job of bringing all that stuff up. I mean, the roads were good after he did it.
What is Skyler that he's their boss?
I got a comment to that, Dan. Years ago, all you guys know Kenny Brendel.
Yep.
The guy was a genius. He pulled these roads up, like in the spring, he went out and pulled them. Initially, it was nasty,
Ugly.
because he pulled all that in. Sometimes you think, oh my God, what's he doing? But he did it early in the spring before he had that, like Don said, all that grass. and it worked perfect. And he got these things, all that sand and gravel that got pushed down from a snow blade operator, he was able to retrieve that and bring that back. The dirt seems to kind of go away, and it worked. So
Can you get grass growth back on that clay base when you take that topsoil out? Pardon?
I saw Kenny Brendel do that. He was very good at it.
I think we can sit here and talk about how to build a road all day long, that's not the problem.
Yeah, that's not the problem.
It sounds like we're short on help.
Do you want to speak in regards to this?
What's that?
So I got one question. When you guys interview for a position,
Do you what?
when you guys interview for a position, if you're gonna bring on part-time help, full-time help, then a truck driver is gonna make the same as a blade operator. How do you say when you bring somebody on 3 part-time that they're all gonna get paid the same, and you have somebody way more qualified than the next one?
Well, that's the deal with David Crum. I mean, we bring him on part-time. but
We
he's-
didn't come up with the wage.
No, but he's more,
Yeah.
he ain't gonna work for 26 bucks.
No, I didn't say what, I'm just
Was
saying
he
we didn't
working
come up
right
with the wage.
He's working right now.
For 26 bucks an hour?
Yeah.
You just said he wouldn't work for
I
26.
said not for very long, he's not gonna. I mean,
Well,
he's
then
got
that's
to.
something we can discuss.
Huh?
Yeah, that's something we can discuss.
There seems to be confusion over work level. Are we short people or not?
I don't think we're short anymore.
Contract.
Well, they hired enough people now.
I mean, are you staffed up or not?
Technically, for what I'm allowed, yes, we are fully staffed. Are we shorthanded? Yes, because every time we want to haul gravel, I have to pull 1 or 2 blade operators some days to do that. If we have to go fix culverts, we have to go pull blade operators.
That's the thing, I think we need to contract that out. You know, we gotta keep them blade operators going on these roads.
You made a comment that I don't want to throw you under the bus, Skylar. But if everybody's going to question everybody, I want to know as a commissioner, and you corrected me when I brought it up, the gravel trucks, we got 2 trucks running in this county. You said you were short-staffed. I said, what about the 2 guys that are working in the office? You said to me, evidently, I don't pay attention when you're speaking. There's an individual out in that shop making big-time wages, and I feel if there's a blade being stopped and a guy's being pulled elsewhere, these guys step up because they're operators, and you get in the blade and you run that route. And you do not let these blades sit idle.
No.
I don't believe there's that much paperwork in that shop out there to stop progress in the county on the road department.
I agree.
And maybe I'm wrong in that thinking, but Jim, speak.
Them blades gotta be going.
No, the blades gotta keep going.
Yeah,
You're
they gotta
right
be going.
behind.
Well,
They gotta go.
This time of year now, it's,
And they should have a plan. I think that's part of the problem. You know, they don't have leadership, good leadership. They should have a plan. Do you ever meet with them, Skylar?
Do I meet with the blade operators? and
Do
stuff
they
like
go
that?
out on their own? They have their own plan, or do you have a plan, or?
Well, they do their routes until we get a phone call about a bad area and we try to get to it, or a culvert that's collapsing, or water over the roadways now up north because we got 2 inches of rain there and now everything's saturated and there's roads underwater up north because the culverts can't take them fast enough.
he's got,
3
I
inches.
think that's
I think
why,
that's the problem, there is no management there, because I've seen a blader take a piss on checking fields, later on, he maybe goes 3 miles down the road, and maybe did 100 yards, and I came up to him 2.5 hours later, went 3 miles and bladed 100 yards. That, as a taxpayer, pisses a person off. He was sitting there looking at a map, he said he had some problems, whatever, I was like, hey, you need some help, whatever. He was just lost looking at a map, trying to figure out where he was at. I asked him, you know, why don't you guys point up the shoulders, you know, none of my business, but like, why aren't we pointing up the shoulders, whatever, and versus piling in the middle, versus doing a windrow or something. Next thing you know, he's putting a windrow on the side of the road. I'm not sure if it was just because he talked to me, but I don't think you should be listening to 100% to farmers, but like, where was the management of how we should be doing this, not taking a little input from this person, a little bit from this person, like, you guys gotta have a plan and go with it. And the other thing is, before you guys, commissioners, with the gravel pile up by our place, I would see trucks sit out there for, an hour before the next load went. And then Francis took over, you can see that obviously someone must have been worried about getting trucks going, but those trucks were actually hauling gravel. There's something where the guys must be taking little breaks, or they don't have pride in what they're doing, and they're sloughing off something that they're not going constantly.
There's no accountability, that's what it comes down to. Nobody is forcing them. The commissioners need to admit that they made a mistake by hiring Skylar and fix it. Hire somebody that knows how to manage, how to lead.
Someone who
And
lives in
that
Emmons
here.
County.
Yeah.
We
That
wanted
drives
to give,
the
we
roads,
wanted,
looks
you know, we
at-
wanted to give them a chance, but I mean, Skylar, you know, that's kind of why we wanted you to move down here to, you gotta get out to the people. These are the people you gotta work for. You, I mean, in the evenings or whatever, go out and visit them. Hey, how's it going out here? What do you need? How did little Johnny do today, blading that road or whatever? I mean, that's what they want from you. It's somebody that's gonna be involved and,
Don, I don't think the people want a PR person, they want the roads correct.
well, I know they
I mean,
do.
he can do that from.
We want
his
work
mark
done,
if it's- I mean,
right? Eric,
the
you want
roads
it
need to
done.
be done. I mean, is there a reason, like every other counties around hire third-party trucks? Like, why don't you guys go out, there's enough infrastructure in the county to pull a belly dump, bring somebody else on instead of pulling a blade operator. There's enough trucks, there's enough belly dumps sitting around, hire people. You don't need to do that within.
I gotta say this.
We did that
we-
last.
It was addressed a while ago, you brought it up, Donnie. You guys interviewed blah, 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 whatever. There is no vehicle that is used in the federal entities, in the state entities, that goes back for personal use, Skylar. And I don't believe that the county vehicle should be going back and forth to Burley or to Morton County, no matter what. We've got 5 common carriers, and I think this has to end. You come to work, you report, you park your vehicle, and you get into the county vehicle and you conduct business in the county and get it done. And I don't know if there's support for that or not, and if there is, I'd like to hear the people speak about it. Is that what you want, or do you want this vehicle to go back and forth?
Yeah.
The vehicle needs to stay.
General
in-
census, damn to agree with that.
Do they?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's gonna end, and it's gonna end today, period.
Good.
No more.
So what,
Go ahead, Max.
I got a comment. This here problem was just didn't happen this year or last year. This has been 3-4 years. I mean, last year I had 33 inches of rain.
Yep.
That's number one problem right there.
Yep.
Blades can't operate if it's so damn muddy. You can't do a job. This year I got 13 inches of rain here the last 2 months already. The roads, I can't really blame them because they can't get out the blade.
Yeah, no,
But to me, the number one problem over the last few years is the gravel over the hilltops. You can't find any. I don't know if it's in the ditch or where the heck it is, but it ain't on the road. For instance, 5th Avenue, 87th to 88th Street, Tom Jocum's hills, they're like this. Back in 19, we had 5 inches of rain. There was a 20 by 20 foot hole that the culvert washed out. And it wasn't Francis, it was Mr. Lawler, at that time was supposed to be supervisor or whatever he was. But anyway, I called them, they came out day one, put up, can't travel on the road, because I mean, it was a crater. You could have put 3 pickups on top of each other. But the road hasn't been gravelled since. They did a damn good job putting a new culvert sloping the road. Now, the minute you get, like somebody said earlier, 20 hundredths of rain, you can't drive on the road. You gotta find a different route. Because if you do that, that slope, you go right down into the creek. Tom's gonna come over, pull them out, or somebody. I mean, it's the gravel. You go over by 89th Street, past Bergad's and Darnell, Silverdale, and Jeff, you can't drive on that road. If you're smart, you do it once. Next time you find a different route, because you cannot, and that's flat. But,
I seen this on, you know where PA Feist is, correct? Old
Yeah,
Andy
oh,
Feist.
yeah.
I was there last week, I drove that on 82nd, 84th Street, then out there 1st, 2nd, 3rd Main Avenue. And I got over there to that hilltop, I made a phone call. But where you go north or south down to PA and over to what's his name, Schumacher, right?
yeah,
They went down in that ditch, and I don't agree with this going down and pulling this sod up. When they did that, all that sand was pulled up to the road bed, to the top, and they've got a curb cut that deep down in the belly of that ditch or along that edge on that slope with sod. And that slope is steep coming from the north. It's gonna wash that road out, no doubt in my mind. And the ditches are not reseeded with broom grass, and you will not stop that erosion. There's no effort to reseed them.
but getting back Third Avenue, that's close to where you're talking about.
That goes up.
The hill coming down,
Yeah.
goes down toward Ron Kaiser's there on 85th Street. There's washouts on both sides of their shoulders. They gotta be 1.5 feet deep on both sides of their shoulders. So if two people are driving on the same road and you get sucked over for some reason, you almost bounce out. I mean, it's because of the rain. I don't know Skylar from Adam. It ain't just his fault. The last 2 years, we've had rain like crazy, more than we've ever had. But the the ditches, pull the shoulders up, I don't know. If they're crowned, rains 20 hundredths, you slide off. There's no gravel.
It's a group effort, guys, in my opinion, for all of us. Because we can't work cattle today because it's too wet, and we can't get in the fields to spray, it's too wet. So instead, we crank up our 850 horsepower semis that we bought. And Daddy bought a new tri-axle trailer for the kid, a pup. And they load it, and they overload, and I'm gonna say that I've been guilty too on that. I don't have a scale in the yard, but you do your best on what you got scales on the trailers. You load them, and it's wet. You shouldn't be on the roads, and we go out, and we haul this freight. It raises havoc with these roads, guys.
Absolutely. I just want one more
Just
minute.
we just give them 2-3 hours to firm up.
Yeah. I just want one more minute.
Go ahead.
In the winter time, 2 years ago, not this year, because I never seen a blade this year because there was no snow. So we should have saved some money.
We did.
2 years ago, it blizzarded, it seemed like every day. I don't know, I think I had 100 inches. The whole month of March, I never went to work. Lucky I had cornflakes at home. But the blade came Easter Sunday, it opened up, thank God. That was the whole month, I never went to work. I don't know how many of you guys cannot go to work for a month, but I was glad he come. I didn't call and moan and groan because I know there was snow everywhere. It don't pay to call when they get out here to get out here. I'm not on a school bus route, I don't milk cows. Hey, I was glad to stay home, I guess, if I want to look at it that way. But just here the other day, last week Sunday, I'm going down First Avenue, I suppose it would be north, off of 82nd, 83rd Street, to the hayfield. Gotta start haying. Well, culvert's washed out. I didn't know it. I hit that hole. Me and Gary Mossett almost flew out of the pickup. I managed to get out, stuck the pipe in the hole, but who's gonna hit that the next time? I mean, it's on section line, I guess. It's right off of First Avenue from PA Fice north.
Okay.
Behind the old Al Wolf farm.
That goes straight north.
Straight north of Pat Fice.
That corner, that highway.
Well, it's a big hill and stuff, but anyway, that you guys aren't out on the road, you don't see it, but who's in charge of these section lines? I don't know who fixes that.
I guess.
Is that up to the farmer to go in and hire a contractor, hire Little Russ to come over and put a new culvert in? I don't know.
That's kind of the way it is now, Max, because now, there's not enough.
But what I'm getting at, right now, there's a hole there. I hit it, we almost flew out of the pickup.
Is there a culvert there?
Yeah, the culvert's washed out.
Oh, see, I think we.
It caved in.
Would the ambulance have been able to get to you and get out of that? Never.
But I'm just, to me, we need a little gravel on the roads, over the hills and stuff, and as far as crowning, I guess I'm not in favor of that, because like I said, out on our roads, we're more hilly out where I live, I don't know. So you get a crown, you get 20 inches of rain, you're in the ditch, or stay home. That's, like I said, last 2 winters ago when it snowed, what are your options? Push snow for a half a mile, 3 feet deep, and where I live on them hills, that's where it is.
That's the other problem we got there. We gravel, like last year in Westville, we gravel, we spent a couple $100,000.
We spent about $400,000.
So, that's just in that area. How do we need more money for the tax for.
Let's hang on for a second. Bernine's been standing for a while. We're gonna let her speak, so go ahead, Bernine.
I was school bus driver for Strasburg, and I get on numerous roads. I have hit the ditch 3 times with kids. I've got stuck 3 times, and Vanderwalls pull me out. The gravel, isn't the gravel what it used to be? It used to be they gravelled the road and man, you could tell. They gravelled out by Vanderwall, but it's still, it's a nightmare. Like the Westfield Road or 9th Avenue, when it rains a little bit, numerous people hit the ditch. That was one of the roads I got stuck on. You know, if we'd ever have to get the police or the ambulance or fire department out somewhere, they'd be dead by the time they got out there because there's no way. That Westfield Road used to be our main road. If any roads were bad, you went to the Westfield Road. Now you ignore the Westfield Road. So is it the gravel? What is it? Why is everything so slimy?
I think it's still class 13 gravel we always make, but I don't know.
There was an error, didn't you make some remark about that?
Yeah.
With
Well,
the,
the only
with the
thing
state?
I had heard is that talking to some other commissioners, like, one from Burley County, is that they felt like their county engineer thought that the state spec wasn't, either something changed or they're not, it's different. The class 13 is, that a lot of people are saying it's got too much clay in it, which, that's a spec that's been
It is.
followed for years.
It is.
And now, if something's changed or the way the contractors are crushing it, but they're noticing in other counties that it's really heavy, and that's one thing we've been noticing in some of these last pits. The Wolbon pits, one, there's heavy gravel.
But they soil sample,
you know,
they sample that.
Right, but I'm saying the spec, the way they're testing it, and if other counties are seeing the same issue we are, we're taking samples in, these companies that test it say it meets the spec, that spec is developed by the DOT, and their argument is that the DOT spec, they're having issues with it. Burley County's looking at creating their own spec. I talked to Mike Urbinius with Wold, he said they have a spec that's got a little more rock in it that they're starting to explore. The oil field counties, some of them had the same issue. And so that's a conversation that we've had too, as far as maybe looking into getting maybe our own spec, but that's also difficult too, because.
I'm running out of roads today.
Right, but like you take the Vanderhorst pit down there by Cattail, they have an extremely hard time finding clay to mix with it. It's very sandy, rocky.
Yeah.
It's been working good to blend with heavier roads, because it's got the lighter material. Then you take the Wolbon pit, the Maskell pit up by Calvin Bush's, those are a class 13 where they did find enough clay. That's probably gonna be a heavier gravel. It's gonna be awesome when it's dry, and it's tough when it's wet, and that's an issue that I did speak to other
I
counties.
think you gotta work on a system to blend that, so.
Yeah, but how do you do it from one end of the county to the other?
Well, you might be able to work that out if you haul one way or the other. I mean.
Well, we've been talking about that. We've been talking about trying to, like you said, maybe try and pull some gravel from a northern pit down to the south country, and then since you're empty, swing. But I mean, you need guys. I mean, you're gonna have to have somebody at each pit. You're gonna, you know, and it comes down to what we've been talking about. Manpower is an issue in the county because you have, you know, let's just say you have 2 gravel trucks and 2 loader guys. There's 4 guys that you're gonna have to, you know, you're gonna have to hire seasonal guys or contractors, and we've explored the contractor thing. We've gotten contractors. It's not easy because it's busy season. Guys are bidding projects in December and January and February, and maybe we're trying to do stuff in March, April, May, and you know, and so we've been trying to be proactive about coming up with a project. But like we just discussed in a previous meeting, we were gonna gravel 30 miles of road and just do a big lift, like one end to the other. It's $500,000. I mean, it just doesn't go far. So then we spot gravel, but then we have issues, you know, like you said, where you have glorious road for couple miles and you have a half mile of just terrible road because that's where you quit graveling, and it's a battle we're constantly waging. And then you get 3.5 inches of rain up by Hazelton last night. Now all your plan for this week probably went to crap because now you're up fixing culverts, re-graveling soft spots, and you can get to them. The pit up at Wolbon probably got that same 3 inches, so that's gonna be wet for a week. I mean, it's just tough. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's tough. I mean,
We're trying to get rock out of fields now, but for 17th Avenue, up is it the Carlsons?
Yeah, well, yeah.
And we can't get in the fields around the pastures even to bring
Well, we
on.
live, you dig the rocks out of the road.
There'd be enough to rig that.
Oh, yeah.
But there-
Well, I know 11th by the rodeo ground, you can pull a few loads, but,
Jerome has a question.
hang on, go ahead.
Jerome Rursky has a question.
There is one thing that I'm noticing both in the comments here and in conversations I've had outside of this meeting, and it was something that was very briefly mentioned, but is very noteworthy in the big picture. And that is that those of you who are on this commission seem to have a problem with being able to set your personal opinions or even professional opinions aside to be unbiased in how you lead this county. And that's a problem. That is a problem, because you can't have favoritism. You have to be able to set your animosities aside, and you're not doing that. You guys are grown men, for crying out loud.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with that. I mean, we all made our mistakes, but we have to live up to what we're expected to do. And,
Can I add something to that?
sure.
I would, yeah, with that being said, I'm wondering, Mr. Magrum, why you feel the need to mock people, your constituents of your county, after they leave this meeting, like you did to me 2 months ago. 3 times after I left, I told you that you should resign, and I gave you plenty of reasons why you should resign. And throughout the rest of the meeting, you mocked me. Well, I'm resigning, so you guys got to do this. I'm supposed to resign, so I could, so you guys have to do that. Why do you think that is? How professional, or I should say, unprofessional that is? That, for that fact exactly, is why you should resign. You take everything personal. You've done it to me. You've done it to numerous other people, in front of their face, behind their back, all over. Why do you think that's necessary?
Sometimes it's just our way of defending ourselves. People call and yell.
Well, why do you have to defend yourself? Isn't it personal?
No, it's just hard.
It's like she said, you're supposed to be professional. Is that professional? I would like to hear Mr. Magrum speak to that.
Who's me?
Mr. Ballman.
Me, Bob Bauman, you did it to me also.
Yeah, well, you done it to me.
I'm sure there's probably more people in here, but they probably don't want to
I
say.
feel like if I'm attacked, I probably react emotionally. I'm not gonna say I'm probably right all the time.
Then why don't you do it to my face? Why didn't you do it when I said it? Aren't you man enough to say it to my face? Because I certainly can take it. You say whatever grievance you want to me, about me, to my face, and I will take it.
Am I supposed to drive to your yard to see you?
No, you're supposed to be professional.
Okay,
and you're not supposed to do it.
I don't know when I'm supposed to see you face to face.
You're not supposed to do it. You're not getting the point, are you?
Troy.
You're supposed to be professional.
Troy,
You're supposed to conduct yourself professionally.
Troy,
and you do not.
We understand that. We're all supposed to be.
No, that's all right, Donnie. I mean, I can speak for myself. No, it's all right. It's all right. I'm just telling you, like, I don't really understand how I'm supposed to get insults heaped on me time after time. Why
is that an insult? Me
You know,
telling you
I'm
you should
elected-
resign and giving you reasons why
I'm
you should
elected in
resign.
this position. I wanted to serve in this position to help my county. I
Then-
feel like I do the best I can. I make mistakes.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Okay, I didn't want this to become a shouting match.
Well, that's
and
fine.
I have one other.
No, that's fine. The only
I
way
have
out is
another
through, so
thing
let's
that's not
hold
that-
on. You've gotten your chance to speak, Troy. Just, you tell me that I insult everybody, but you don't really give me a
I
chance
didn't
to
say
speak.
everybody.
The big thing about it is I ran for this position because I felt like it was my duty to serve. I mean, you guys know my family, but you served, my grandparents, parents, everybody. It's just the way I was raised.
Can we have the short answer, please, because we're running out of time.
I guess the bottom line is I'm here to do the best job I can. I make mistakes just like anybody else. If I've offended you, I apologize, and I, probably shouldn't have said some of the things I said. Some of it I react to emotionally. A lot of people demand answers immediately in these meetings. It's difficult to come up with them. It gets to be a long day in here, and yeah, I make mistakes like anybody else. So I guess if I'm ridiculing you or offending you, I'm sorry. I don't feel like I've never been ridiculed or offended in this meeting either, though. I'm supposed to just take that because I'm an elected official.
No, but that's when you discuss it.
I mean, I'm a citizen and a taxpayer in this county just like anybody else too. I feel like I should be able to speak in these meetings as well. So again, I'll own up to it. I've made mistakes. We don't always fix the right roads at the right time. We don't always have control of the weather. There's a lot of difficult decisions get made in here. It also comes with a balancing of the budget and trying not to raise taxes, but in order to do that, there's a lack of funds and manpower on some things, and there's definitely things we can improve. I don't disagree with that.
I have one more thing I would like to address. Everybody has been talking about, it's the gravel, it's the roads, it's how you shape it. It's this, it's that, the map, everything. The biggest problem I feel that we have in this county
is our superintendent does not know what he's doing, and nobody will do anything about it. He is not qualified for what he's doing. He thinks he is. He comes in here and he tells you guys how to do stuff. That is not how things work. He is not respectful to county residents. He does whatever he wants. He drives a pickup back and forth. You guys scolded him, scolded him, scolded him. He still does it. He says that, well, we need parts, we need this, we need that. Can't you guys figure out that he is the problem? He is the biggest single problem right now with the roads throughout the entire county. He will not move down here like you guys told him he had to. He flat out just said it. He has been sitting there silent the entire time. He is the one that should be telling Mr. Dan, I mean, how to do the roads, how to pull the shoulders. Not a word.
Well, like I said, we don't want to insult anybody.
I'm not insulting anybody. I'm saying the honest to God truth.
Yeah, you are. We just want to have opinion, or I want
That is
everybody.
my opinion.
Okay, we want everybody.
You can take it or leave it.
It seems like the common
Hang on,
interest. Jerome's been waiting to speak
I'm
here,
sorry.
so let's, yep.
I was just wondering with state mandates on gravel specs compared to county. From what my feeling is the state wants the clay in the gravel because most of their gravel goes under pavement. They want it back under there. Gravel roads, there's enough dirt, they need rock. Granted, a little bit of clay would be good in it, but not so darn much, because when it rains, you've got nothing but mud.
Yeah.
Well, I think the class 13 spec is supposed to be like a gravel road spec, and, you know, I mean, they have multiple specs for multiple projects, so I think that's what we're kind of basing it off of, is the DOT spec for class 13, which is supposed to be road gravel, but.
Well, there was a huge amount of gravel hauled after the wind farm left up in the Tenwick area. That went south. I don't know where it went.
Evidently it was terrible gravel, am I right?
I know.
Pretty awful, yeah, because, I mean, the Tenwick Road is another issue.
And I feel bad for wherever that went.
Because it was crap, right?
When it's dry and it's like concrete, it's like pavement.
Yeah.
But you get a little moisture on that and you'll slide right into it. And then next year I used it for a base on there where they put the
For the
turbines.
turbines, yeah.
And the base for the turbine access roads. And then they covered it up with crushed concrete blades. For that, it worked perfect, but that stuff all left there and went, I think, there was trouble in the south. And I don't know where that went, but I think you guys might have got that, so when you guys by Tenwick, don't.
It's almost better to drive in the ditch at this
It's
point.
fine.
It's ridiculous. Okay, something needs to happen. You guys gotta make a plan. You can't just keep pushing it off every meeting.
Well, that's why we called you in here.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
I don't know.
Skylar, do you want to speak about it? Why don't you go up to the mic and speak to the general public your plan? If you have a
Going
plan.
up to the mic, so, our plan is to gravel, but we only have so much money in our budget, right? Like, these guys set my money that I'm allowed to spend. So, it's not a lot this year, it's actually less than 2 years ago, they cut that budget. Nothing's gotten cheaper. So, with 1,200 miles of road to do, I brought in one to do 30 miles of 3 inches of gravel, which is really like your bare minimum that you should really have on your road for this heavy trucks and stuff, right? It was $600 and some thousand to do 30 miles of road like that. 32 miles of road. So where do we start? Because the southern people in the southern part of the county want gravel. People in the northern part of the county want gravel. So we did a bunch of graveling down there. Yeah, we did what we could with what the money we had. Now we gotta go up north and try to get some roads done up there. There's just not enough money to go everywhere.
But I don't think any of the taxpayers, my opinion, have a problem with paying a little bit more taxes if we're gonna get something done, but even if you raise the taxes, you still don't get anything done.
God's got to give the numbers down.
Where did the 400,000 come from last year that you had to do that big chunk of gravel for, with your?
I don't know where 400,000, it was like 250. We were
Well,
just,
we're accounting for the gravel because you had roughly.
Our pile was depleted.
well, to put it up, is that what you're?
Well, right, well, it costs the county probably about $10 a yard to crush it and maintain it with leases and things like that, so you have about $10 a yard for the gravel, and then roughly, I mean, so if we were at, what was the number, so 1,000 loads, so you figure roughly 200,000 yards of gravel? Right?
Right.
Or no, or it's no, 20,000.
What's getting at though, it costs us $200,000.
Just to move it.
Just the truck,
Just the
two
truck.
hundred
Say it was
thousand.
400,000, where did it come from? Do you have it again? Can you spend that much every year?
Well, we have diversified funding, cause if it went on things like federal aid roads, we can use federal aid budgeting. We also do budget for gravel, then there's county road and bridge, but there's different funds that have limits based on caps, so you have 100,000 in this fund, and so you, depending on which road it is, you can use certain funds, like the federal aid one, like the one that just got voted on, that's where some of that money comes from, is the federal aid one. And then,
taxes.
and, well, no, but that's what fills the coffers, is the taxes, those
We
are your
don't wanna
property
raise-
taxes go into each one of these funds, and some of them are maxed out, like the federal aid one is a 5 mil cap, and that's already maxed, so that's roughly about $200,000. You can only use that on your, what we call federal aid CMC roads, and so you maybe take 40 or 50,000, if if you gravel 10 miles and 2 miles of it was federal aid, well, that 2 miles, you can utilize that funding for, that's the way it gets audited when we go through our audits, and
I have a question.
so, I mean,
Did you cut the gravel fund, or did you move money from the gravel fund somewhere else? Is that why we're
well, as
short
far as
money
far
the
as,
last couple of years?
is
You know,
the
did
gravel-
you decide to go, oh, we're gonna cut that because we really haven't used it, or we use this much for snow? Did you shuffle any money out of our gravel road fund into another fund to cover another project?
no, when we talk about the gravel funding, majority of that gravel fund is probably for crushing.
Okay.
The actual, like when we haul gravel, that gets paid out of their wages, whether they're blading or hauling gravel, so that comes out of our highway tax funding or our county road and bridge budget, whichever we're pulling for that. Same with like tires, maintenance, so a lot of that money it's budgeted from other funds when they're working day to day. The necessary gravel budget would be when we usually crush gravel, which I believe the reason we wanted to reduce it is because we have gravel on piles. We don't need to really crush a lot more, we need to get it hauled.
So you did
So-
reduce the actual fund?
For crushing gravel, yes.
Right, but a lot of times the reason why we reduce a fund is because when you have your preliminary budget and you're maxed on your mills, that's, the state century code says you can only charge 10 mills for this fund. Well, when valuations changed along with the mills, now you're over your mills, so you have to cut back because if you do the same value, I'm gonna do a horrible job of explaining the property tax calculation because it's not very easy, but.
I know how it works, I served.
Right, well, then you're understanding that basically the values of your mills change, they're probably usually going up. And so you have to reduce down and get back to your 10 mills, so if you spent 200,000 on gravel last year, if you put that same 200,000 in with the same money for every other department, you're usually over. So we cut back where we can. Generally, we cut from the biggest numbers, because that's the easiest way to not see it. If you have a $200,000, you try and take maybe 50,000 from that instead of taking 50,000 from a $60,000 budget.
But
So,
we also been trying to not raise taxes too much, because you guys are paying enough taxes. Maybe you don't mind paying more for roads, I don't know.
and we usually do utilize some funds from the permit fund, which is a fund that, when the wind towers got built, that was a big one from that, because we're a part of the load pass permit system, so they paid permit fees to utilize our roads, and that's kind of if we're 50,000 short on getting a project done, we usually appropriate money from the permit fund to try and cover that, so we're not raising taxes, but a lot of these mills there's probably pretty well limited out on them. There's not a lot of room to really raise taxes on some of those areas, so, it's just kind of a rough explanation, it's probably not a very good one, so.
This is probably a bit of a moonshot, but have you ever considered going to the state? We have, an $8-9 billion legacy fund. It seems like they have no idea what to do with that money, they got so much in it. People in other states say, where does North Dakota get all this money from? Well, anyway, the point is, it's there. Have you considered asking them for some of it? You take 1/2 of 1% of that, would go a long, long ways.
We do ask the state for lots of money, because, like, for example, we have the prairie dog funding, which came through, which is $1.4 million. That's earmarked for certain projects, though. It has to be engineered, it's gotta go through approval processes, so we're doing a big culvert job out by Calvin Kelch's, where Beaver Creek constantly erodes the road, and then we're also doing a box culvert up by the Woolbaum area, because that bridge has been dilapidated for years, and it's also our only way in and out of our gravel pit, so we earmarked, that's state funds that go into that.
But it can't be used for
It can't be used for just like crushing gravel and fuel, right, exactly, it's earmarked for specific projects, and then the same thing with the 17th Avenue grade raise right now, that was actually approved for funding to do the grade raise, and it's also been applied for a lot of our federal aid roads, like the one going by Bergaz and Steve Gevro's, and the one out by Bauman's 88th. That was a state and federal project.
I need to interrupt, but I think what Bob was referring to, because our whole county, all of our roads, north, south, central, are in dire need of repair. Could you solicit the state for funds to help repair all these roads? Because everybody in every part of the state is sliding off the road. We're getting stuck in the middle of the road. It's not just a southern problem, it's a whole county problem. That's what he was.
I mean, there's funds that exist with the state that you have to qualify for, like these bridges, roads, and that's why, I mean, to solicit funds for just general purpose, I think they would probably tell us to raise our own funds.
If you don't know that, so why not ask?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm telling you, we do ask all the time in the form of, we have engineers that we work with that apply for grants and funding through specific funding mechanisms from the state. There isn't just money available that you can ask for, it comes through legislation of different, like the Prairie Dog Fund, there's different, the STIP funds, there's the revolving funds, there's all these different, we apply for them constantly, and there's usually a pool, like the one pool was $25 million, there was like 70 applications from across the state worth like $400 million for $25 million, so, I mean, sometimes we get awarded projects, sometimes we don't, they don't usually divide, like everybody gets $500, it's, somebody will get 5 million, and some people don't get it. Well, I'm just telling you, that's the way. As far as just pleading to the state for funds, I don't know if that's probably what I have here, but.
Steve has a question there.
Go ahead,
Steve.
I think most people here probably don't know, but Campbell County's got all their gravel from the Stopper Farm by the state line, and somebody dropped the ball here years ago. They hauled gravel out of there for years now, and it might be getting depleted, but we can't get it anymore. They got the agreement. Somebody screwed up, and that would have covered a lot of the south end of the county.
We really should have a pile down that south end.
Yeah, we should be looking for some down that way. I don't know what is your process for looking for gravel? Do you have a plan, or do people come to you, do you go look?
Well, it's a combination of both. We have people that come to us saying they would like us to explore for gravel. There's times where we know where gravel is, we go and explore it. I mean, sometimes it turns out, sometimes it, you know, take samples and there's not enough clay or enough rock or enough sand, and there's, you know, sometimes there's been other areas where we've tried to lease it, people maybe want too much.
That was offered to us, that was offered to our county before, and we turned it down. So Campbell County.
Oh, it was turned down by Emmons County.
Well, I'd like to know, that was told that, but I'd like to know the true story on that.
I don't know anything about that, so I don't know if that was before my time yet or what.
That was before your time.
Yeah,
So is there other questions?
So what are the commissioners going to do to hold accountable the management out of the road department so that solutions are had and, you know, roads are improved? What are going to be, you know, how are you going to hold the superintendent accountable for this? What are the steps that you're going to take?
Well, first of all, we should probably do what we said we were gonna do, and he should probably move down here in our county and get involved with the people. And first of all, I guess my opinion, but I don't know if he's gonna do that or wants to do it or not.
I don't think there's a problem about it.
I've asked him, and I'll support Don on it, twice, and I felt I was lied to twice, and the third time, I was more or less ridiculed because I questioned it. So I, as a new guy coming on board, and I wasn't part of the interviewing deal.
Dan, so I was at the meeting when he got taken off of probation. I was there that day. And he told him he was signing a rental agreement that afternoon, so the commissioners took him off probation. And gave him a raise.
I had asked you too one time, Skylar. You said you got a party kind of lined up or something in town there, but.
He was signing that afternoon, they took him off probation. I sat right here and listened to it.
I just hope we got word from you guys that it's like you said, Dan, he's got to stop today. If not, I hope he resigns.
Within 30 days.
I would prefer today.
Yeah.
Today too.
If he's not gonna move down there, let him resign, you guys can replace him, he didn't fulfill his obligation, he can't fulfill his obligation to this county. He hasn't yet for 2 years. He's lied, he's
Well, I know we got-
manipulated, and he's disrespected everybody in this room, including the commissioners.
We gotta make some changes. People aren't happy in this county as far as roads get bladed. Now, this time of year, it's almost too late already. Grass is 3 feet tall. Should've been done earlier in the spring, but
That money that
What
you
happened?
save on, Donnie, that money that you guys save on, because we didn't have a bad winter, what do you do with that money? Because
well,
it-
that goes into emergency fund. A lot of that stuff's in emergency fund. It only gets used if there's an emergency a lot of
okay.
times, so.
I think the roads are quite the emergency, especially when the ambulance has to get down one.
Could be an emergency.
They are emergency.
Well, I don't know. No, can I actually guy take money out of it in the summertime? What do you call
You
it?
have to declare an emergency in order to use it.
The whole state?
And that's in North Dakota Centric.
Is a state approved?
It's in the North Dakota Centric code that we cannot spend money out of the emergency fund. It's a North Dakota Centric code pertaining to mill levies. You cannot spend money unless the commissioners declare an emergency. Now, you could declare emergency that the roads aren't safe for traveling.
They are.
That would be an emergency, and you could use the money for that then.
There's your
So-
solution.
So what's the rest of your feeling? What's the rest of your feeling about hiring David Crum back on CP? Do you think we should pay him a fair wage and get him to come back and do what he could do?
So Don, the thing about Francis Crump, you guys all know, how everybody watched it. He was given permission by his supervisor. If somebody screws up on my farm, because I told him to do it, and he messes something up, it comes on me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Skyler
So
took
you
some
guys
responsibility.
crucified Dave,
Yeah, I know.
there's the guy that should have took the heat.
So
Yep.
what are you going to do about it?
What are we gonna do about what?
That.
You guys have to swallow your pride and get him back to work.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you're here. What's your opinion? That's bottom line.
He knows what he's doing.
And if you have suggestions what we should do differently or anything.
What I see a lot is blades at 4:30, that blade's up in the air and they're driving 5 miles back to town.
Yeah.
So what about 13-hour workdays? So they can get on a route, drive around, when it gets dark earlier, it's probably not a safe thing, 12 hours. Get their hours in, get their job done instead of spending 2 hours on the road with the blade up. And is there any accountability? Are we watching some of these guys? Are they always blading? I've seen them drive out with the blade up, come back with the blade up in 30 minutes, and I drive that road home and nothing happens.
Well,
He was wasting a half hour at the end of the day.
That's why I'm saying it doesn't look good when you got a $500 million machine running around, paying a guy $40, $50 an hour, and the blade is not in the ground.
I can't believe we can't see what's going on. We see these guys going 30 miles, 20 miles an hour. We're stopped for a half hour, but what's going on? I mean, we should be able to see that. There's no way there's not a GPS in there.
The issue is with fuel getting delivered to them, because they can only run how many hours on a blade?
Say that again?
How many hours can they run with fuel on a blade?
Oh, I don't know. Can they run a whole day?
Some can, some can't.
So you gotta have a guy delivering fuel.
A full day is what, Scott? 8, 9 hour day?
We work 10 and a half hour lunch break.
Yeah, do hours of service, DOT hours of service apply to the road graders?
Say it again?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Not that you're aware of, okay. Yeah, because the question was, do the DOT hours of service apply to the road graders?
Oh.
And he's not aware of it.
Have you ever considered with all the things you got going in the county, culvert work, road work, digging rocks out of roads and what, not to sub out the road grading to Northern Improvement or something where they get paid by the mile or the hour or whatever, and these guys are professionally trained to run these graders, and you guys sell a lot of these high-priced bladers, take them guys and you probably be able to have less employees or whatever and repair these washouts and water out there.
That's all something that can be looked at, I guess. I mean,
Well, thought.
It's just like I said, we got $4 million worth of blades out there and we're not utilizing them the way they should be.
Right.
Why have them, I guess?
These guys are professionally trained to do this.
Do you have any training? Does LTAP come down and train anymore?
Maybe we need to do some
They do?
training.
Okay. We actually have scheduled for July 18th a motor grader training class.
Is this a demand, is this they have to do it, required training?
Well, they wanna limit the class size, so we're combining a little bit with McIntosh County. So we're bringing the newest blade operators that don't have a lot of experience in first.
So once they go in for this training, are they actually using the training, or are they just going back to what they did before? That's kind of what seems like. They just don't, they go to these classes, but they don't utilize what they're learning.
For some of that, I don't know if there's, Kenny Vanderwerst, he's here, right, someplace. He told me one time that, what's his name, Cody down there, used such a good job in South Dakota, now in North Dakota, it's not the same anymore, so I don't know.
I don't really believe, I think we're getting off the subject a lot here. I think our blade operators actually do a good job. They're not gonna do 100%. I think a lot of it is that they're getting pulled off from the blades to do other things.
Okay.
We're asking a lot of them. They just need more road time with the blades, and we need more gravel in spots.
Yeah.
Because I think we can't criticize the blade operators.
Well, it's not that I was getting criticizing him, but you said they blade different than they did when he was in South Dakota or something.
Well, he's probably moving faster or whatever.
Yeah.
In South Dakota, he has good gravel to work with. I drive from Emmons County to Campbell County every day to work. And it is like you warped into another dimension when you cross over the border. It's absolutely absurd. I suggest every commissioner take that road after it rains and then you can see what I'm talking about.
So
I brought this issue up.
So do you guys feel the federal aid roads should be bladed way more than the other roads? Or? Of course they should.
Well, that's your primary amount.
Hang on, go ahead.
Get back to the blade operator. He did a terrific job down there, and I think, but when you blade a road once a week, or like a farm market road, it should be bladed every week. Now we blade it once a month. You can't come back and do the same job, because they're all rutted, they're cut it up, they're hard.
So do you think the side roads should be left alone a little more?
Well, I think there's certain ones that could be.
Because the only thing with
Concentrate on farm and market roads.
the side roads, then all of a sudden the grass grows in the middle road, then you gotta mess
That's a
again.
problem too.
At the end
But,
of Westfield,
some of them side roads, they maybe get 2 or 3 cars a week on, and they're bladed the same as the farm and market roads. Which get, I don't know, you got count on any of the roads now, any more counts? What's the traffic count on that farm and market road from Strasburg to Campbell County?
I don't know.
I mean, it's a lot. I know people that live
There's a
outside
lot of
there, there's a lot of traffic.
But I think the bus routes also need to
Bus
be a
routes should
priority.
be priority, and I still never got an answer to my question on how you prioritize what roads you blade. Why wouldn't the bus route be number one?
Skylar, do you have?
Well, there's a lot of different bus routes and
Obviously, but those should be priority.
right, but we
That should have
can't,
been your answer to me from the very beginning, was yes, those roads are the priority.
in the summertime, or are we talking wintertime now? Because in the summertime, there's no buses.
If you don't make them a priority 24/7, then they're gonna be to shit by the time fall comes on.
All right, so one blade operator's got 10 different buses that runs in his road.
I get that, but you guys.
So how can we go
need to
over
figure
10
out how to
different bus
prioritize
routes?
those roads. That's up to you. That's your job.
Supposed to be. Right, and we can't keep up because we just can't keep up.
Okay, so this is the problem that we have to solve then, right?
But years ago,
So the commissioners here need to solve it.
but years
That's
ago,
what we're
there was 20
Today.
buses sitting in front of the Lincoln School District, and now there's 5.
Yeah,
And
it's
there
insane.
was 20 buses, they all came in, there was milk trucks going out. There's not that many farmers out there, no milk trucks, hardly.
They had old cat blades and they got it done.
That's what I.
The machinery wasn't even close to what it is today.
And now they can't, you say you can't get the rotted out. so-
That's what I don't understand. I mean, these bladers went into all these private drives, because milk trucks went in and out and everything else. We don't do any of that anymore, but we still seem to can't get done. So I don't know what the problem is.
Basically can't keep up for some reason.
I mean, we shouldn't have to open up our own roads.
Management and accountability.
And it starts with us, right?
It has to.
The whole
You
management.
have to do something.
I agree. I mean, we're the ones that are, you hired us to do a job and we're supposed to do it, so we should be held accountable.
And it's not
But what are you
gonna
gonna
be
do?
nice.
Huh?
It goes back to the question I asked 15 minutes ago. What are you going to do to hold accountable to fix the problems that you have created, whether it's before you became on the commission or now since you're trying to clean up prior messes? How are you going to hold the superintendent accountable and get the roads fixed?
That's
My
where,
personal opinion, fire him. He can't do his job. He's not doing his job, just like I said before.
okay, that's a discussion probably that will have to take place and do, but, I mean, right now, we're just trying to get ideas and stuff, so. Just, I wanna be respectful to everybody, we should all be respectful. We hear what you're saying, all you, but if you have, anybody else has comments, you know, feel free to say or tell us what you feel.
One comment I do have goes all the way back to the first comment. Debbie had talked to Cody, that's last summer. In Campbell County, he had half the miles, so he could get around.
You know, but back in the day, I think we had 8 blades years and years ago when I was a kid. And I think that's what we still have 8 blades out there, right?
With 9, one's down right now, so technically we have 8.
Okay, and I don't know if we ever, I don't think we gained any miles in the county. Okay, Stevie, you had a question back there yet?
Yeah, I think you need to excuse us and you guys should conduct your business now.
Okay, well, is there
I
anybody?
think you should excuse us and you guys conduct your business.
Okay, has anybody else got any
Business down
comments?
here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've listened to all you guys bitch and complain. I mean, the roads are bad, the guys, they do what they want. But the main reason why them roads are bad is, they were built in the 30s and 40s. They weren't designed for 100,000, 150,000 trucks with heavy equipment. So I don't give a shit how much gravel you put on, how much money you spend on them. The next month they'll be shot again. The roads are bad. These guys tried to do it. You guys tried to get gravel on them, but we had DACO pipeline drive on our road for 2 years. They came out on the weekends, they bladed it and did the fixing up on it. We never had any problem. But those roads are never gonna change. You can dump 20 fucking tons of gravel on each
Hey, let's
square
try
foot,
and keep the
and it ain't
language.
gonna make any difference. You can sit here and bitch, and it ain't gonna make any difference till they fix the roads and keep the weight off them. There's so much traffic, so much heavy trucks, and I don't know if people are just
Well,
dumb.
that's where some of us
Because they
farm.
drive on it when it's wet. You'll see it goes by our place, there'll be 5 semis go by when the road's soaking wet. And then they complain about the road.
Well, that's
The
where-
road's never gonna change until the people that are complaining change their ways, and these guys have to do their job. And we had good maintainers, didn't make any difference. As soon as we got it maintained, my neighbors came over with 4 semis and wrecked it all, so I had to say that.
Well, I think the farmers have to be more responsible too, you know what I mean?
Don, are you gonna tell me when you guys load gravel trucks, you guys are underweight per axle?
No.
Okay, so you gotta stop blaming the semis.
Well, I'm just saying.
Well, we're just saying,
It's a per axle weight. I mean, I guarantee you, when you guys are hauling gravel, you're not at 70,000 pounds.
David.
What about the potatoes right now? But they're only like 26 pounds.
On the farmer market.
I see one stuck. Hang on.
I see one stuck in the middle of the road last year when it was raining out. Why are they hauling, why are you guys allowing them to haul on the farm to market road when it's raining?
We can't really control what people go or what they do. We have no control over that.
Aren't they, I thought at one time they were supposed to help maintain that road or pay because they were hauling on it.
I don't know if that ever
Spud
happened.
boys.
Yeah, they were stuck, it was stuck in the middle of the road last year, it was raining out.
And that's a good road, that federal.
It's a good road, they drive, I don't know why they have to haul on it when it's raining. You know, we don't try and haul our grain to town when it's raining out.
Well, I think we're all guilty of that, though, hauling overweight stuff on roads that we shouldn't.
Yeah, but how many farmers here haul when it's raining out? How many of you guys haul to town unless you're hauling on pavement? I can't leave the yards there, I'll be, same thing, I'll be stuck in the middle of the road. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thanks for listening to us.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if that's enough, we're past the agenda time for that, so the next item on the agenda will be the federal aid right-of-ways, which I believe Commissioner Everly put on the agenda also.
Yeah, that, I had brought that one up.
But you know what, I tell you what, for God's sake, let's just take like a 5-minute recess and then jump into it. So,
Thank you guys for,
people can clear
thank you
the-
for coming.
We're gonna recess for 5 minutes. Next item on the agenda will be the federal aid right-of-ways. Commissioner Everly, I believe you have that on the agenda.
Yeah, I guess what I was gonna bring up there is, you know that time when they had those, that combine up north, Joel Ranch? Some of those guys were supposed to move the fence off the road, guys moved combine. After Francis come to put that ad in the paper, I must have got 12 calls from people wanting to know, how come some get helicopters and some don't? So I was just wondering, I don't know, Joe, have you ever checked who ever moved their stuff and why or what?
I was never the person that was gonna check.
Okay.
So I think that was either someone in the road department or a commissioner, I'm not sure. I just sent the letters when I was requested.
Well, anyway, I don't know if we should, we should be held accountable for that too, if people didn't move their stuff out the right away. The federal aid roads, and we're responsible for that. I called the state, I called Brian, used to be, what's his name? Brian Geezy's the name, or Brian Geezy. It's the guy that's taking Paul, what's the other guy that used to be the superintendent
Where?
there? State.
Brian Fuchs.
He's talking about Brian Fuchs,
Yeah,
yeah.
Brian Fuchs.
Yeah, and now.
He's not anymore, now it's Brian Geezy, and I had talked Geezy, and I had talked to him. And he said, yeah, we're supposed to have all this stuff off federally right away, we're responsible for that. So if it's not off the road, and we send out letters, and it hasn't been removed, we're held liable. He said, if you sign every year we gotta sign off in the federal aid right away, right, Marlis? And if we sign off and we know somebody's encroaching on the road, we're held responsible. We could get sued or whatever, we could lose all federal funding for not just that road, but any roads.
On any road?
Any road.
On secondary roads too?
Well, no, it's just all federal aid roads.
Because you just said on all roads.
All federal aid roads,
Okay.
because that's the federal government's status, so. So if we're signing off on these every year and we're not being held responsible, we're breaking the law, according to Fran. So I was just wondering how do we find out who's still got stuff on right-of-ways?
Well, I mean, I guess you guys could take a look at the ones that we had served before. I tried to look through the list. I'm not really aware of any of them that haven't complied, I guess. At least it hasn't come to my attention. I know we had the Whirlinger one that was fixed. There were a few others that got moved.
Well, that Whirlinger one, that wasn't on a federal aid road, though.
Right, just as far as the letters you sent. And I don't know, was the dome fence, was that on the federal aid road or
That
no?
dome fence, right?
That's not on a federal aid.
Was that on a federal aid road, that dome fence?
No.
What, I don't recall the dome fence.
That's north of Brad.
Francis was there, but
North of what's his name, he
Yeah.
used to be a school teacher. He went to St. Mary College, what's his name? Married to a silver now.
Paul Keeney.
Huh? Keene.
Keeney.
He's straight north, I think, of the road that goes straight north from Keene's Road, across the federal aid road. It goes up into the old Lawrence Engelman place where Vance Graham used to live on. Then it got sold to the Doan family. And that culvert washed out back in what, 21 or 20?
June of 21.
21? I don't think that's a federal aid road going north.
No.
The
that's
road
just-
going
it's
east
just-
and west, right?
it's 10th Avenue going north and south isn't the federal aid, but that other one is 58. Yeah.
Because Leonard thought it was a federal aid, and
Well,
that's not a federal aid.
58th is the one going east and west.
Right,
Yeah.
right, from 83 in.
And that was the one that Brian Fuchs called in on that one meeting, I believe, too, right? And he said we could tie in, that they were allowed to tie into bridges and
Yeah,
certain.
Into the culverts?
Brandon said you could tie into the underpasses and that kind of stuff, but you still have to maintain your right-of-way as far as people getting across and stuff like that. You can't have no big posts setting up and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Clearance. Clarence was.
Is he the only one up in that area, or?
I don't know, there was a few, there was that guy that had that combine.
Yep, the combine, it was Mock, I believe.
Yeah, that got moved, right?
Anthony
That
Mock?
I think that got moved Clarence, I
was- No,
believe.
Clarence Mock had that combine on that was a section line.
It was a section line deal.
The one that goes to what they call Silver Culvert or Black Ridge back there, it's, yeah.
So, what I'm saying is, you know, people want to hold us accountable, we gotta be accountable for all this stuff. It's federal aid roads, if we're not gonna, we're gonna get sued too again, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm not aware of any that are out of compliance. I know that, I think it was that 89th that, when I sent you the letter?
Yep.
Yeah, I think all those got moved. There were 3 or 4 landowners on the, coming up, on the east of that road towards 83, and they all moved their fences.
Yeah.
And then Commissioner Materi, yours actually, we thought it was at 75 feet. It turns out it was a 60-foot right of way when we did some further research, so.
I thought it was 75 till I got this letter,
So yours is where,
60 foot.
and what is the fence at?
I don't know exactly, probably at 65, 66.
Okay, so that's all in the.
That's in
all
compliance, because I pulled the books, and in 1953, my grandparents, Jacob and Josephine Materi, granted a right-of-way easement on both the north and south side of that road structure on is that 89th?
Yeah, that's on.
East and west, from the tar going west. Correct?
Yes, and I think that would have been section 28. 'Cause
Right.
You had some land in section 27, you,
Yep,
and I think.
yep.
Matt.
99 foot it got.
And that was a 99-foot easement, and we reduced it to 75. I guess I just thought it was 75 all the way
Well,
across.
that's what Brian told me, he said the minimum is 75 feet on federal.
But I talked to Chad Schneider in Morton, and quote, he said, they can be inconsistencies on them right-of-ways, because some people will not, I said, don't they use eminent domain? He said, no. It'll be like, and I've got a 60-foot easement of record, and no 75 of record.
Well, not only that, but in 97, when this first came up, because I didn't know any of this, of course, but, you know, Commissioner Viteri gave me some of the paperwork. He had gotten a letter from Wold Engineering saying that this is a federally funded project and we needed to keep and maintain everything up to the 60-foot right-of-way. So they even knew it was 60 feet in 1997. And so that's why I looked into it, because I thought, well, where did they get the 60 feet from?
Yeah,
Because it was a notation on the letter quoting Joe, witnessed it, Joe, right?
Yeah,
And it said 60 feet, I said, is it 60 feet around that lake bed or what?
So then we
But it's
would
not,
look
we pulled books in
around
on
it,
it.
yeah, it was 60
Okay,
foot.
well, I don't know, that's what Brandon told me is, you know, the minimum 75 feet on all federal aid roads.
Not on all of them, no doubt.
Okay.
You take the federal aid road that was built from this infrastructure on 89th that goes north up to Terry Holzer's, no, not, yeah, Terry Holzer's dairy farm, where Luke lives. There was Tilly Holzer Baumgartner. She didn't grant an easement of 75. Tony Roth did not grant an easement of 75. Their roads are still within the secondary road status of 33 feet.
So they don't take eminent domain there, right?
Do what?
They don't take eminent domain on that.
Evidently not, and I talked to Chad Schneider, I said, do you lose federal funding if there's not consistency of 75 feet of your easement so set? He said, no. You go off the plat as it is, the way the easements are in place. And mine is at 60 feet, that's why I never moved that fence.
Okay, well, I did.
And then in the minutes, Don, also, there is a letter from the county commission stating, quote, in regards to that fence that comes up and around that lake, I was addressed and told, and I've got it, not with me here, but it's there, that the DOT was contacted and they told the city superintendent and the commissioners that all I had to do was drill, not all I had to do, but what I had to do was no different than guardrails coming up across Beaver Creek, south of Linton, 3 places. They drill a clover leaf, 2 1-inch holes, 1-inch hole and 2 1-inch holes. They call it a clover leaf. It's a shear point. If somebody hits it, those posts will shear off, hopefully.
Okay, well.
But that's what took place. I complied with it 100%, so I left it done.
Okay.
That's why I didn't move the structure, the fence.
Okay. Well,
Okay?
I'm just saying.
And I'm just being fair with you and honest and open with
Okay,
you.
well, that's fine. I'm just being fair too. I'm just being, you know.
And I appreciate it.
This is what,
Trying to be the
this is
time.
what he told us to do. And if we willingly know that
Yeah.
people have stuff on the right of way and we
Yeah.
do nothing about it and we knew about it and we're signing off on it every year, we're breaking the law.
There's a lot of it If you get in the vehicle, and if you keep your eyes open, I guarantee you, within this county and other counties, that on secondary and federal aid roads, there is such and so many infractions. And if we want to start picking on everybody and anybody, then you're gonna have to start looking at structures.
Well, you can
of bins and all that are sitting and our roads curve around. Now, if you want to comply, they're in the right of way. And now you pick up, you dismantle these bins, you set them aside, you break out your cement, you re-pour your cement, and you set your steel structure down. And then you set it 100 feet back from the right of way. As it is so stated, when they had that issue with, what's his name, Van Beek and Weinbeam.
Yeah, that's on county roads there. We have a little discretion there, but on
They're
federal
not
aid,
county, it's federal aid, and on county roads. I don't know if we had discretion on secondary roads.
we have a
either.
little more discretion on, the way Brandon said, on county roads, we have a little more discretion, but on federal aids, that's a cut and dry deal. We're supposed to abide by the law.
Then why don't we comply with our 100-foot setback on all, and some we won't grant that 100 or give them an easement on an old established homestead to put up a building? Why do some get favoritism and others don't? And you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
There's no consistency.
Yeah, well, yeah. Probably not.
That's just, I mean, it is, it's just.
But you can see my point too, where people are complaining, well, why come I have to take my fence down and the next guy doesn't have to? You know what I mean?
And I hope to God that it's not just handpicking certain people, as you stated earlier with vendettas.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I'm gonna state.
No, it's not. I mean, it's just like, I'm just saying, if it's a federal aid road, we know there's encroachments on there someplace. Like I said, if the Dole Ranch up there, they haven't complied, but maybe
It's
that's
not
not
federal
federal aid,
aid.
well, then we don't have to worry about that.
There's others up there, but I won't handpick the people.
But if we know about it, we're supposed to do something about it. Because we could lose all our federal funding, not just for the road that they're working on or whatever, but for all federal aid roads in the county. So, I just thought I'd bring that out there and address that, so.
Okay, does anybody else have?
That's all I got to say.
Topic for the federal aid right away? Okay. Now, move on to the next item on the agenda, which is Skylar Crowes with the County Road Department.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
We'll start off with 17th Avenue. I'm just gonna give you an update. We've got it up out of the water, all the fabric is covered. We're working on rip wrapping it right now, but as Commissioner Materi said earlier in the meeting, fields are soft, the rain isn't helping. We're hoping next week to be able to get back into them. And hopefully we're gonna finish rip wrapping next week, and then we have just a little bit more gravel to put on there, and then all the signage that needs to be put on.
Where are we gonna get the rocks from?
We're getting them out of a field a couple miles away right now.
But I thought it was too soft.
Well, it was. Like, we were getting it from one farmer, and then that field was really soft, so then we moved across the road and got onto a little higher ground, and that one seemed to be doing all right now. But with the current rain events, we'll have to wait and see, so. Yeah, so that's.
Will you have enough rock in the immediate area to rip?
Oh, I believe so, yeah.
What's happening to the erosion like it's happening on that east side?
Well, that's why we need to get a riprap. That's what the riprap's designed to protect that, so. I mean, we all knew that we were gonna lose a little bit. It doesn't help when it rains and then the wind blows also, so that's what you run into when you try to bring a road out of water.
I was up there a couple of times and I noticed those wet spots are still wet even though you filled it in. What's
Yeah, but I mean, we're not to the top grade yet on those. I mean, some of it will try to dry out a little bit. I mean, it's just pockets of water that got trapped in there, so. I mean, there was water on that road when I put that fabric down.
Was that not dug out and corrected before you put the fabric on down?
No, there was water on the road.
I mean, that was coming up from the bottom.
No, that water was coming in from the sides because the road was lower than the, like there was actually berms up there that.
Before that road was covered with water, though, they still had soft spots in that road.
Right, this fabric or this geogrid is designed not to dig out to build up. I mean, you can dig out or you can just build up, and talking to the engineering firm that we hire and the guy that sells this 10-star is a professional engineer too. they said it's best to just build up above it.
Did you throw rock in there? In that area where it was soft from, from absorption of the water profile around both sides?
No, that's what this geogrid fabric is supposed to do.
So that squeezes the water supposedly out of the profile?
No, what that fabric is doing is it's bridging it.
I've used it, Joe.
Right?
I've
I
used
mean,
it.
you're still gonna get a little bit of rutting on top and surface cracks and everything like that, but you're not supposed to do anything with this stuff prior. You roll it out, put the 14 or 15 inches fill over the top of it, and that's supposed to bridge it. There's still gonna be like some soft spots. I mean, it's not a cure-all, but we're up out of the water and you're not gonna sink feet down. Like, at the most you could sink would be 14 inches, but I don't see that happening.
Should there be a load limit put on that when you're done?
I mean, I don't think we can.
It's not gonna matter.
I don't think the load limit's gonna matter. I mean, there's gonna be object markers up there because the road's gonna narrow up just because of the rip wrap and stuff like that. So remember, this is, in the end game, hopefully this is just a temporary fix because we did get the funding for the permanent engineering and hopefully we can future on get the permanent construction funding on it. So this is, I mean, people, they've been going around the road closed signs and driving around over it, so.
That's gonna be a winter project if it ends up being approved, a lot of that stuff.
I would doubt that it'll be approved this year. I don't know the states or federal funding process when they are gonna reopen those for decisions, so. I would say I could probably guess we're gonna be with that road for probably 2 years. You know, before any soil is turned maybe.
What's happening with the road that's going into their yard, that private drive where it's inundated with water?
It's just still inundated with water.
They're coming in and out of the field?
Correct. Correct.
And the water's getting higher.
I know. Yeah. I know. I was up there. Craig and I drove up one day, looked at it, wow.
Right, and if
Well,
I
that's what
keep,
we anticipated, though. We knew when we raised that road, it was probably just gonna raise the water. I mean, we knew that. That's,
I mean,
Common sense, great.
yeah.
I mean, well, when we raise it, I mean, it keeps raining, it's just gonna keep going up, so. I mean, there's a good chance that eventually the stuff that we did could go underwater. So. But as of right now, their driveway's still inundated with water and, they're going out through the field. Any other questions on 17th Avenue or anything like that? Just a road update, we're still moving gravel. We plan on bringing some contractors in after the 4th of July to help move some gravel.
Who's coming in?
Misha Binsky again.
Okay, is he?
Yep. They're the ones we get the cheapest price from.
What are they, by the hour?
Correct, by the hour.
What do they get per hour?
150.
150, okay.
Right. I know other counties, they do it by the mile and they figure it out about the same. I got quotes for $162
I've
an
been told
hour.
the county's 158, some of them.
Yeah, some of them are 158, so.
They give them a certain dollar amount and that's it when they're done.
Right, and that's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna just use whatever money we can to put some gravel on the roads. We're gonna go gravel north, but if after the discussion, if we wanna change routes and go somewhere different, then we should.
Well, we need to just keep our blade.
We need a plan put in place for these people to be, and for it to be heard. There's gotta be a plan.
First of all, are you gonna move down there, Scott?
No, we're pretty clear on that in the last couple of meetings. I mean, it's 2.5 years now, so. So whatever you guys decide, just let me know. But as a plan, I mean, we need money to make a plan, right? We tried to come up with a plan and then we didn't have enough money to allocate that plan. So now we want to go back to what people are saying is not working. Spot gravel is not working, but yet they want us to go back to, we don't have the money to go into these full force laying down miles of gravel at a time, so our options are to spot gravel, which they're not happy with. So in turns, it ends up being a money issue. and a manpower issue. I mean, this isn't the first time we've heard this, like I've said before in our previous meetings. Every time we go to do something else, whether it's culverts, riprap, graveling, something else has to suffer.
Why don't we, as we talked before, sub some of this culverts out and have them bid and have them placed by somebody else and keep the blades running and keep our trucks running? And if we have to pull staff, and I'll mention it again, out of that shop, they get in the trucks and they run gravel trucks. Period, that's my opinion.
Well, the blade guy, you gotta keep the blades going. That's absolutely, people wanna see them out there. They're blading the roads once we
Once
gotta
a
get the
year?
blade, yeah.
I mean, some of that's, it's almost too late already. I mean, with the
No, it's not, it can still get done.
It can get done.
It can get done, but, I mean,
Don't give me it's too late, we're
We have-
talking July 1.
we have to have money to contract these culverts out.
We've gotta learn to spend less on certain things and focus on the primary things that need to get done. Just to spend, it's no different than when I farmed. It's easy to spend, but it's tough to pay. That's the way I look at this as a business.
Oh, I agree, so, I mean, we'll go over the budget this year of all the projects that we wanna get done and have been pushed off for years. And then we'll have to go from where you guys wanna go, what avenue you guys wanna go with that money. So, but as for the road updates, like we're trying to blade and trying to put gravel on the roads and try to fix some culverts here and there when we have some time.
So how
There was a couple motor graders that were down for a while, like one just got back the other day and one's up there getting work done now, so when his blade was down, then we put in some culverts and he was helping on the riprap project.
So how come a lot of the roads haven't gone through at one time, or what's the deal there?
I don't believe that they haven't, but I mean, it's tough to argue with them.
Have you inspected to see that they have been done more than once?
Well, not in the last 2 weeks, no, cause I've been up on 17th Avenue working on that project, so. Cause like when,
As the superintendent, I'm gonna ask you this, Scott. As the superintendent, and we've got a secondary superintendent in-house, why are you on the site 100% of the time? And I'm just questioning from a business standpoint. And why aren't you in the county pickup looking at all these other entities in the county and managing them and getting those things addressed and having our second man that's there up on the site doing what he should be doing and not what you are doing that you shouldn't be doing? That's all I want to ask from a business standpoint and a management standpoint. I don't understand it, and you're probably a heck of a good operator, and I respect you if you step up and jump in and help out. But we need utmost management, that's number one. And the people all voiced it in here as a crowd. And why? Just answer that why.
why am I up there doing it instead? Like,
Yeah.
it's because our manpower's lacking, so if I pull someone else out to do it, then they're not blading. Like, we had to pull a blade operator to help load trucks up there.
Then you pull the guy out of the shop and you put him in that blade.
Yeah, they need to be getting out.
There is so much feedback on this that it's aggravating to me as a sitting commissioner and a businessman that I was over the years too, to watch what goes on. I don't understand that.
Well, it gets frustrating for me too. I hear the same kind of thing. You know, people, that guy that you had down in the Hague area there, he's kind of lost, didn't know where he was. Farmers are watching all the time. They're seeing everything.
Every day in the field.
They're seeing it every day, what's going on. It's like, that's kind of like why we wanted you to move down there, so you can get involved, have a little more skin in the game down here, as far as seeing what people are doing or what they need or stuff like that. I mean, I know what you're doing. You're coming down here, you're going to work. I'm not saying you're not working. I'm not saying you're not, I'm sure you are. You're going and you're focused on that job there. And little Johnny over here, he's probably blading the road, but who knows what he's doing? I mean, how do you know? Does he even know how to blade? You know, you hired him, he said he knows how to run a blade, you're probably paying him good money, but does he really know what he's doing?
No. I seen it, Skyler, I don't want to pick on you, but yet you're gonna think I am. I seen it on the Campbell and the Emmons County line when that culvert was placed and we shared in on it, Campbell and Emmons. Russ Lowder was the contractor that did it, and I'm not citing for Russ or anything. I was down there 3, maybe 4 times through the whole duration of the culvert being placed and prior to the culverts being placed and removed and replaced. There wasn't a one time you told me, quote, because I asked you, were you down there to see it? No, I felt it was being done the way it should be. You never went down and took it upon yourself to see if it was actually done. Have you been down there to this day yet?
No, I haven't, because it's on a section line and we don't really manage section lines.
But we placed it in at the expense of both counties. So it's
Did they do a
important
good
from a
job?
management standpoint. Pardon?
Did they, I mean, you went down there, did they do a good job? Was it
That isn't my responsibility. You're the superintendent overlooking these projects. That's why we hired you.
okay, so like I said, during those winter storm months when I was running equipment too, so I can either help out running equipment or I can just manage everything and not help out.
I didn't say that.
No,
There's times when I expect it.
I'm just, we're having a conversation, like that's what, when we're short of manpower, what, like that responsibility falls on me, right? So in order to get that job done, it's like I should manage, I should go up there and do that so we can keep everything running. So if I don't wanna do that and just manage people, something else has gotta suffer. Like, you guys remember that we're taking care of a pretty big county
It is a
with
big
9 guys. Like, there's other counties out there that are roughly the same size of us, and they have a staff of 30. So some of their crews, like their culvert crew or bridge crew or anything like that, is the same size as what we're trying to manage the whole county.
We don't have the financial resources like they do.
Right, so something else has to suffer. That's what I'm getting at. If we don't have the financial resources like that to put all the gravel on the roads or do all this or hire all this to get done and stuff like that, something else has to suffer. That's, I mean, that's the picture that we have to get across. Would I love to hire $2 million worth of trucking to have gravel put on these roads? Absolutely, love it. We don't have it in our budget. We just don't. Like, you're now asking us to do more with less.
Well, you
So
know,
how do we do that?
well, we had the same amount of blade operators before as we do now, and we got by. That's what I don't quite.
Oh, that, you know, the other thing is,
Right, but we've replaced a lot of culverts in this county in the last, just this spring, like, in just southern Emmons County, there's probably 15 culverts have gotten replaced.
And there's some of these areas, Skylar, you know it because I brought it to your attention. There was one culvert there for the last 70 years. Now there's 4 of them. And the way they were placed, I don't know who placed them, but the outlet is higher than the inlet.
Did you shoot it with a laser?
The what?
Did you shoot it with a transit or a laser?
No, but I don't understand why you spend the resources in the county to place 4 culverts on a watershed that probably gets a watershed maybe once in every 15 years. We've got 4 culverts because why? I don't understand it. That cost of them culverts and that labor is so out of hand and the next guy gets none. And I don't understand that.
Where are these 4 culverts?
You're aware of it, just there, just south of 83. I don't know the street address, to the north of me, a mile and a half.
So there was 3 culverts in there to begin with, and we added a second one because they changed some, years ago they changed some stuff in the state, and it's a lot bigger watershed now, so we added another culvert in there.
So state?
Yeah, because it comes off underneath the state highway.
Yeah, it comes across.
And then that road's gone underwater a few times. So we added a culvert and then built it up to help carry the volume.
I just don't feel we got the manpower to replace these culverts.
Okay, sometimes neither do I, so in our budget, let's find some money for a bunch of contractors. Now, when you split contractors, you're gonna have to split it between gravel install, or gravel haulers, or culverts.
Who's gonna manage all this?
Well, me, because I'm not gonna be on the projects anymore. Like if, like 17th Avenue, we'll have to pull some blade operators to finish that project. So, then in turn, something else has to suffer.
first of all, I think you have to move down there, Skylar, if you wanna keep this.
Well, Don, with all due respect, you've had 2.5 years to bring it up multiple times, and now I'm just gonna stay my piece. You're no longer running, so you can burn that bridge. So I don't believe that is a fair attack anymore.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion. So I mean, you've had 2.5 years. I don't think it's a not living down here problem. I have done nothing but, I've been here every time that there's been something major going on. So, you're right, if an emergency happens, me living here or not is not gonna help solve that problem, right? If the ambulance gets there and the road's washed out, me living here is not gonna change that road from being washed out.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that is just to be involved with the people more.
Like I don't know who the gentleman was, they don't need a PR guy, they need a management guy. So we're spread too thin, like I think that keeps getting overlooked. I really honestly do believe that keeps getting overlooked. Like, we've said in multiple meetings, you're like, the first meeting it was like, it's raining, we need to do something, then the next meeting you're like, well, it's just raining, what can we do? It's just wet roads, stuff like that. I mean, the infrastructure hasn't changed with the traffic. Every one of the, like Donnie, Commissioner Magrum, you guys were farmers, or still are farmers, like how has the farming practices changed over the last 25 years? Like look at the freight that's going across these roads, right? Like that, and that one gentleman's perfectly correct. These roads were never designed for that.
Right.
And they weren't. And we don't have the money in our budget to start going out and rebuilding these. Like we can pick small roads if you guys want, small sections, like Cattail. That 2 miles of road is slotted to get rebuilt after the 4th of July that weekend.
Did you ever go back on that Vanderhorst, Lewis Vanderhorst Road that you guys built 2 years ago in the fall of the year?
Down to the state line? Yeah, I've been down that.
You went down and redid that? Like you stated to me, you were gonna go down and redo that road?
I think I guess, which road are you talking about?
By Lewis Vanderhorst, where you come east and you take the road.
That's 8th Avenue down there?
Pardon?
Is that 8th Avenue down there?
5th, I think.
Is that 8th?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, that would be.
When you remember you brought all that silt up on top of that road bed, out of those curves?
The north-south road you're talking, Dan?
Pardon?
The north-south road?
No,
Okay, that's 8th Avenue.
Is that 8th? You said you were gonna go back down and correct it that spring of that following summer.
Because what the problem was, it was super sandy, right? People were getting stuck.
Well, it wasn't sandy, it was all silt brought out of that ditch bed.
Right, and I believe.
Not silt, just silt, good silt.
I believe Lauren Vanderhorst even called in and said, I can't believe that road healed up like it did, so.
So you never did go back?
So we never did have to go back to do anything to it. Like, we put some gravel on it because of that silty material at the time, but now that, I've yet to get a complaint on that road. Right, and I believe Mr. Vanderhorst even called and said I had 100 loads of corn go across it and it held up pretty good. So.
Okay, I just wondered if you did or not, okay?
Right.
Because that was discussion that fall, because I remember it was hauling beans and it was all flour.
Right, and then, but have you been down there since?
No, I have not.
Okay, like, it's gotten better, so sometimes that's what happens to these roads, it just needs some time.
But why are they doing this, going on these roads, Skyway? You as the superintendent, I was there on that road going past P.A. Feist and what's his name, Schumacher, that's married to Schaffner. South of P.A. Feist and on the west side.
Alvin?
No, not Alvin, it'd be,
Albert Schumacher.
he's sick, pardon?
Yeah, that old guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about George Schumacher.
George Schumacher.
Yeah, that's-
That road, Skyler, I don't understand that blade technique. They went down and they cut the sod and they brought it up on that roadbed. And there's a cut about that deep on the east side from that hill to the north coming down. Well, that water's all going down there and that's gonna carve unreal.
Right.
You can take it on my road coming from the south, coming north. When that mile was redone, what, 2 years ago? They never shaped the watershed coming down on my, well, not my road, the road that goes by me. When they shaped that road, they should have cut that berm down and shaped it. So when it comes off that pavement, it goes into the ditch, the belly of the ditch, and follows the ditch. Instead, now it's carving a snake effect, and it's about that deep already. I'd like to go on there because it's common sense, what to do, rototill it, go with a mower, cut it short, take a scraper and shape it and cut it so that it pisses into the ditch like it should. Instead, it's carving the roadbed out.
I suppose it's just
They don't have it sloped correct.
there's a berm there.
There's a berm. And the berm does not let that water flow into the ditch like it should. Just an oversight, but it's ruining the infrastructure. And it's not because it's my road that serves me in and out. Everybody uses it.
Oh, if it holds water, it's gonna make the road.
It's gonna raise havoc. And it's that deep already in a snake effect, and it's not a good deal.
Right, so, in order, I can't speak for them, but I'm sure like back then, it was probably, I don't know if it was a time constraint, or they're just trying to get some of the water off the road, so instead of coming down the middle of the road, it's off to the edge. Like a lot of these roads in these counties.
It was an error. It was an error and an oversight and moved out too quick and never corrected it. I was gonna go with the scrape and I asked, they said, don't do it. If something happens, they'll come after you on being and altering something on that road. Rick said, yeah, I said, okay, let it destroy it.
So at that time, I don't know what they're.
You weren't part of it.
Yeah, so at that time, I don't know if they just had to move on to something different, like the time constraint or what, like that over there, like what I'm sure he's doing is trying to get the water off the road a little bit. Like some of those places, these roads were never punched in or built correctly, they were just literally, there's no ditches in them at all and the water runs over here and then.
They were built just as a trail.
Right, and so
ditches
in order
are deeper
to.
or higher than the roads are.
So in order to do that, we've got to go into reconstructing these.
That means
we
that
don't
we
have the manpower or the time.
3 scrapers, even though you said they were all shot, we need a new one. There again, I don't believe that they're all shot, because they were used when they were set down, both of them, 2 out of the 3. If we need to shape these roads, it's not by pulling these roads up with blades. These roads get built by guys sitting in the scrapers, cutting dirt from a hilltop if you have to for clay base, bringing that clay and dumping it to build road tops, and as you dump it, you pack. I talked to the superintendent in Morton County, when they do this graveling, what do they call it, some solution, whatever it's called, it's like super glue.
Phase 1?
Yeah, that's how they build them. They build phase 1, they come with their water trucks, they spray it, and they come with tractor packers and they pack it. And then they come with the next layer. He said it's like blacktop, if it's done right. But he said, we'll use scrapers, we use scrapers to build our roads, because you have to compact as you dump.
Right, did you also ask Morgan County how many people they have on staff?
Correct, but I know what their budget is too. They're healthy.
Right, so I think we're getting muddy in the waters, is like, would I love to have their budget and their manpower and do that to these roads? Yes. We don't have their money or their budget or their manpower, so this is what we're getting, something else has to suffer, so.
We gotta be tough on our guys that ever work in here.
If we wanna.
If they can't cut the mustard on a blade, and you give them all the education, like you said when you hired these guys, if they don't cut it, they're gone.
Well,
if they can't cut it, you have to let them go.
Right, but how long do we wanna give them? A month, a week? I mean, a couple of these guys have less than a year. So comparing a guy that's got less than a year experience to someone that's got 7 to 8 to 10 is not a fair comparison, I don't believe.
You should tell in about 6 months how a guy can perform.
Well, yeah.
Right, but they're working better, so, but all that stuff takes time to learn too. I mean, they've got the basics of it down, now they have to fine tune their skills a little bit.
So how come when we hire like David down there, why can't we pay him fair wage? And he knows what he's doing, and he's got experience.
Because there's only so much money in the budget that you guys give me.
Well, I don't know, don't you guys think we could find someplace else to give a little money to pay the man, a little more money?
Well, I guess, I don't know, I'm a little confused on that, because, I mean, we interviewed for the seasonal temp positions at a certain pay rate, and we hired 3 individuals for the same pay rate, though, like, I'm kinda confused with David, I mean, if David Crum accepted the position at $26 an hour, just like Terry Adbach and JT did, I don't really see the issue, like, I mean, that's the job, that was the pay advertised and he accepted, so I mean, unless we have a full-time position. Right, David's currently working for the county seasonally at $26 an hour like 2 other individuals. Now, if we have a full-time position open, he wants to apply for that position, and we interview and go that route, that's a different discussion. But the seasonal position that we agreed we were gonna hire, I think we agreed we were gonna hire 2, we hired 3, and we're paying them $26 an hour, and I think for the most part, Terry's been driving truck, that's kind of his big thing.
Right.
I know JT's been running a tractor with that sod buster, run with Wayne and a couple
With a
other
blade,
guys.
right, with a tractor, right?
Well, it's got that rock buster deal, you know, where, yeah, they're pulling up the edges and breaking up the windrow, and then when we got David in a blade, cause that's where he's best suited, and that's what we're doing, so
And John said too, that sod buster's an experienced one.
Well, I talked to JT because I got a call out on 84th that said that the road was not good, and I drove out there. JT had been running it for 3 days, and he admitted the first day he didn't know what he was doing, 'cause he'd never ran it, and by day 3, which is when I caught him, it looked pretty good. It only took a couple days, and it angles like a hay conditioner, and so he figured right, the first day he went straight on, and it was kind of spread, and when he angled it, it was kind of, you know, feathering it off, and I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, it's no different than what we did when Francis was here, and so I don't understand why that's, you know, such a big issue, and I mean, the same thing with, you know, with the staffing we had, you know, like especially with John in the shop, we created that position back when Francis was here, because we weren't managing the funds properly out in the road department. Marlis used to do the road department's budget, which I thought was ridiculous, since she's not in the road department. And on top of that, the blade bidding and the fuel bidding and all those, so that Francis could be out on the roads managing the guys taking on projects, which is exactly what Skylar's been doing. Francis used to do that. He used to take one guy and go and do culverts, and that's kind of what Skylar's been doing. When I stopped out on 17th, Skylar was basically a one-man show doing that gravel spreading or the dirt spreading with Sherbenski's, and Gar was blading the route for those trucks so they didn't totally destroy that haul route. And so, I mean, a lot of these questions are getting brought up, and it's getting made sound like we've made this huge change in the last year or two, and that Skylar's to blame for all of it. And a lot of this infrastructure was created back when Francis was the road superintendent, because before Francis, we felt like there was no structure in the road department. Francis did bring structure to it in a lot of ways, and some people didn't like it, some people did, but we've kind of maintained even that employee structure where certain guys were kind of foreman types like Gar and John, and the road superintendent was best suited to be out on the roads. I mean, one unfair comparison I'll say right now is Francis was a workaholic, there's no denying that, and he worked 6-7 days a week. It might be part of the reason why he quit, because he burned himself out. He was out on the roads on Saturdays, Sundays. I mean, he called me all the time on Sunday, he was out on the road somewhere. Well, the average guy's probably not gonna spend 7 days a week on the roads. Most guys have lives that they want to spend on it, so. And as far as the road department's schedule, you know, working 410s is a pretty common practice. I mean, we work overtime when we can, but these guys want lives too when you talk to them. I mean, a lot of them, they got motorcycles, they got wives, they got kids, some of them got grandkids, I mean, there's doctor's appointments. I mean, look at that ugly winter when we worked them 7 days a week. Guys missed vacations, they missed appointments, they missed, you know, all kinds of things that when we came out of that winter, that a lot of them guys don't wanna work that kind of schedule anymore. So the days of working 50, 60 hours a week all summer and then expecting them to do that in the winter, it's just gonna be extremely difficult. You guys wanna get tougher on the employees, you're more than welcome to, but I'm just telling you, it's not easy. I think we have a good crew of guys. I think, you know, there's always improvements can be made, but, you know, the weather's a big factor. Some of these guys don't have to work 50 hours a week, they don't. And so if you wanna get rid of those guys and find different guys, that's maybe a solution you guys can look into, but some of these guys got other hobbies or do other things that even pay as good as their Dane County job. I know that for a fact, because I've talked to them, so.
Well, I guess I just feel that, you know, like David down there, I mean, not that he wants to work full-time, I mean, he wants to work part-time, right? So, but he does a good job.
He handpicked, he said he wants to handpick the days he wants to work and whatever, so he's getting that, correct?
Yeah, I mean, both the summer helps, I mean, no offense to them, but they were retired, so they don't wanna work the 4 days a week.
I mean, he's
Just like John T. Newsman.
But John T told me flying out, he said, if you guys don't like what he's doing, he'll quit, you don't have to be there. He said, you know, I mean, cause,
Or
like he said, when he got that complaint about it, he's like, I'm doing the best I can, if you don't want me here, I won't be here. I mean,
David told me he'll work all summer. If it rains, he'll stay home, so he doesn't have to collect the county wages. But when he first started out, he was at 32, and then all of a sudden he's 26. And now I think he's kind of impressed with all $26. He used to get $40, $45 like the rest of the guys. Now he's got no benefits. He doesn't want any benefits. All he wants is a fair wage. I think if he got 32 to 35 bucks an hour, he'd be happy, but We can't do that, we don't think we can find it. I mean, I can see, okay, we've got seasonal part-time help, but we know what he can do. Can a guy just give him a little more or not?
Well, I'm not saying he can or can't, just my description of it was that when everybody said that we need to get David in here, we need to get David's here, he accepted a position at $26 an
But
hour, just like the other
he
guys.
doesn't want to work it for that.
Okay, well, I
then
mean,
then resign.
but I'm just saying it
So
takes.
you would rather have him resign and that, those people.
He
all be
left
mad.
us, he resigned.
Yeah, but I mean, now that he's back, you don't think we could pay him a little more, that he could stay down there and work with those people down there? It's not your part of the county, it's mine. These people are on my back.
It's all our county, because it's voting at large.
Okay, you heard these people in here today then, right? Well, so what do you think? We should just pay him 26 because that's the way it is? And we know we have a good operator. They know it's a good operator. We should just let him go. He should just resign because that's what we're, whatever. That's the way you guys feel, that's the way you feel. But I got people breathing down my back too, calling me and bitching me out all the time. Well, why don't you guys do something? Why don't you do something? So, that's my opinion. If you guys think differently, then.
And I respect your opinion, Don.
If you don't want to do it, then say it differently. Then you can have them people, I'll have them call you guys. Call Dan Terry, Gary Holmes. Call you guys. If you don't want to give him anything and he wants to quit, whatever. I'm just saying, I think we would have a good operator there. Can't we pay the man a fair wage? It's not gonna cost the county anything, he's gonna be making the county money. We got a guy out there now, I don't know who he is, he's not doing anything. People are pissed about that, he's just not doing anything. Why have him out there?
Steve, I don't believe that he's not doing anything out there, so.
Well,
if a landowner or a farmer or a taxpayer sees these people sitting around with the blade in the air and stuff like that, they should call me, right? But they don't.
Calling me.
They call you and then we wait till the meetings, or you've discussed it like a couple days before to these meetings. So the second he calls, you should call me, and then that's what we should address it.
Most of the time I do it.
It's a lack of chain of command or lack of communication some days. And, I don't believe that in there, so, but it's tough for me to say it when I'm at a meeting with no information.
I usually reach out to you, correct?
Correct.
I usually call Skylar instead of when the guy calls me.
I do too.
I'm not gonna give Skylar's phone number out. I'll call Skylar, I'll text him, get back to this guy. And he does, I got ahold of him, all good.
I do the same thing, I call you too most of the time, I've been always,
Right, for the most part, but for this last little bit, it just seems like, just the other day when we met with the landowner up north, and that's one of the times where he said, well, he's just sitting around. Well, that was 4 days ago, so,
Well, I told you about that guy before. Or they called me, that they're not doing anything back there, back by the Christian Center, they called me. Said this guy's got his plate there, he's not doing anything. And you said you were gonna check his records, where he's going or whatever. But that's what I say, as a manager, you got these guys out here, you should go see what they're doing once in a while.
okay, if that's the way we wanna go, then just remember, something else has to suffer now, like 17th, we're gonna have to move guys over there to do that. So that's pulling a blade operator or something like that. So if you want it just to be more of a management and I don't do any road projects or anything.
That isn't what we're saying. There's places, Skylar, you're gonna jump into, and you're gonna grab a blade, you're gonna grab a payloader.
Right.
But we've got other personnel that has to do the same thing, and not this just windshield time. They gotta step to the plate and be part of the crew. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think anybody out there isn't part of the crew, to be honest with them. So,
do I have to bring this issue up?
Has anybody been out to the office and see what actually goes on there? Or are we just speculating from what people are saying?
No.
'Cause there's a difference between speculating and actually going out and seeing what goes on. So.
I know you're working, I know it's a big county, I know you got a lot of responsibility, but.
I've got notes in my pickup, and I just assume discuss it with you one-on-one, or with another commissioner, or do you want to discuss it in here? Up on 17th Avenue.
Okay.
You evidently had the pickup up there, was it on a Thursday? On a Thursday in Bismarck. You come down, because I was contacted by two people that passed you on 83.
Okay, who contacted
Let me
you?
finish. You were coming back with the pickup on the Sterling, right away coming down Highway 83. I got calls at 6:26 or 6:30, I don't know what, remember 100%, because I don't want to babysit. Then that afternoon or that morning at 11:20 or 11:30, they witnessed IBOC coming from the north by Moffett. I went out and I took it upon myself, I was down at the farm, and I don't like doing this. I drove up to the county shop, and I stayed at the county shop. Mr. IBOC showed up, not picking on John. He had 4 tires in the back of the pickup. It was probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock. I drove up to the shop door. Hey, John, made small talk with him. He had 4 drivers he brought back for the gravel trucks. And I said, were you up at the Moffett? You were at the 17th Avenue deal? He paused for a minute. No. And I said, were you in Bismarck? Yeah. For what? I had to pick up 9 teeth for the skid on the scoop, or the scoop on the skid steer. Really, okay? Skylar didn't know that before he come down to the job site. There was 1 tooth he said that was bad. 1 tooth of the skin, and that justified a trip. Going to Bismarck and picking up these 9 teeth. I took it upon myself. I asked Mr. Ibach, I said, is Skylar's pickup here in the shop? No. Is it up in the Hazelton shop? I don't know. I said, did I get the code to go into the shop? No, he laughed at me. And I said, I don't think it's a laughing matter. Is it in the shop? He said, I don't know. So I called Bobcat the following day to get the invoices on these teeth. Those teeth were removed. And I drove and took it upon myself before that. I drove out to 17th Avenue. There was no skid or nothing out there anymore. So was it in the county shop? I don't know. In Hazelton? I don't know. Then I called Bobcat and they said, yeah, there's 2 invoices here. The initial invoice, the time's on the receipt, it's in my pickup. I think it was like at 10:30 or 10:20, they were picked up 9 teeth and 9 little pins. I know how that's all set up on a skid steer. And evidently they weren't put on that day because they weren't needed. Then they were returned the following day by you at 11:20 or 11:30 that morning to Bobcat. And 8 other teeth or 9 teeth were picked up. I think it was on the weekend, Saturday morning. So you tell me how we as taxpayers and this group of people sitting in here from a management standpoint can justify the county pickups being up there twice in one day. To pick up 9 teeth on a skid, and those 9 teeth, if this tooth was wore so bad in the center of a skid, from a management standpoint, you pull that tooth and you put it on the outside of the scoop because you're gonna have overlap. 9 times out of 10. So you tell me how that's justifiable from a manager's standpoint.
Well, you can't change those teeth out. Actually, the bottom of the teeth were wore out completely. So I have the teeth still around if you would like to see them. The teeth were actually, they sent the wrong ones, so that's why I returned.
You picked up the wrong ones.
From the manufacturer, from Bobcat Man, I called up there when I noticed the tooth was bad. I'm like, hey, I need to know if you have these teeth on hand. He's like, yep, sure do.
They slide through with a pin on the backside, correct?
Through the top.
And they go through, yeah. I've got a skid also.
Great.
Yeah. So one is bad, like John told me, quote, there was 1 tooth that was bad, we just noticed it. You just noticed the 1 tooth. Why didn't you pick the tooth, pull it out, put it on the end as I just stated, and bring one that's on the outside and put it in the middle, because you got overlap every time you do this. What is the
No,
deal
you
and how do we
don't. Like, I think
justify?
you're more than welcome to come out to the shop and look at the teeth that are in question, right? Like, does everybody know that I went there on my own time with my own vehicle to return these teeth and exchange them, so.
Did you submit a bill?
No, I don't submit a bill, that's just kind of what we do, but, I mean, if that's what we want to do, like, you can't have best of both worlds, guys, so like.
It's not gonna happen no more.
Right, so then, do you want me to start submitting bills for this stuff?
Isn't that what we told you a long time ago? Or evidently, like you said to me, don't I listen?
Well, it was for personal use, and I don't ever use it for personal use, so, I mean, please come out to the shop after the meeting
How do
today.
I know if those are the 9 teeth that were on there?
Well, now,
That's all I'm gonna ask you, in my defense.
well, we don't have any other teeth out there for the skid steer, so.
I just don't understand it within a 1-day period, 2 vehicles are up at Mandan or Bismarck picking up teeth.
So there's also been multiple times where we've gone up for the manufacturer, like Caterpillar, we'll use Al's blades, exactly, so Caterpillar, Butler Machinery was down working on them. They worked on one in Strasburg, then they come to Al's because Al had a hydraulic leak. They tore into it and they're like, we could get it fixed today if we have the hoses, but we don't have time to run back and get them, and it'll be about 3 to 4 days, could be a week, before we get back here to fix them. So then I made that call, let's run up to Bismarck and get those hoses so we can have that machine back up and running. So now is it just case by case, or is it person by person? What is it? So as a management standpoint, it only makes sense to run up there and get the part, get back down. They installed it, the machine was back up and running the next day. So.
Well, I think the big thing that's gotta happen here, just from all the discussion and all this talk, I mean, it seems to me that a few of you on this board don't trust Skylar's road superintendent, so I think you guys need to make a decision on what you're gonna do instead of just, I mean, this complaining at him every month doesn't really make any sense, so if you guys are, I mean, if you guys wanna do something, there's 4 of you. I mean, I don't think Skylar's doing that bad of a job. I think there's always room for improvement. I was here with Nick Waller, I was here with Francis. Every one of them had great points and they had shortcomings, and I don't see that much of a difference as far as that. I think there's always room for improvement. You know, I talked to the blade guys, they got big routes, they have a hard time covering them with the weather and everything else. I think a lot of it's getting pushed one way or the other, but you guys all have your opinions. You're more than welcome to make motions and to do something. You wanna start punishing guys, you wanna start firing guys? I think making accusations and complaining in the meetings and doing all kinds of things and then hoping somebody else makes the motion is pretty weak, so. I think somebody should speak up and make some motions, otherwise some of these things need to just, if there isn't enough to punish or fire someone, I don't think it needs to keep getting talked about. 'Cause bringing it up every meeting, you're just as to blame as anybody else, instead of having one person going, well, it's not my fault, and somebody should do something, but basically not you, so. Somebody should do something. If you guys think that he's just absolutely running the county into the ground and destroying the road department and ripping off the taxpayers, then there's your accountability. If you don't think it's that bad enough to fire him, then I think we need to move on on trying to positively rebuild the road department. And I can tell you another thing, insulting the road department, especially the blade operators, is not great for their environment either. I mean, how do you appreciate going to work every day when everybody around you tells you you do a crap job? It doesn't work. So, I mean, if that's the energy and the environment that you want for your employees, you're gonna have bad employees and bad performance. That's just the way it's gonna be. I run a business, I have 4 employees right now. There's time to be constructive, there's time to be critical, they make mistakes, but I got good guys and I try and treat them as good as I can. Generally, it's positive when you try and reinforce them with something positive. Everybody here makes it sound like they're not doing anything right, and that's not the case. It's not. It's you know, I'm not gonna sit here and defend it like they're doing nothing wrong and this room full of people was wrong. That's not the case. It's not. I drove around some of these areas, there's roads getting missed. I probably attribute a lot of it to just, they're huge routes, they're tough to cover, and you know, there's times where blade X is gonna be on 4th Avenue and then it rains 2 inches when they get pulled off to go fix this road or that road, and federal aid road, maybe a bus route or something, and so that road gets left behind. Well, I'll get to it again once I get caught up. Well, then something else happens, when they get pulled off to run a blade, or they go to, or a gravel truck. A lot of that stuff is, well, I'm just, you know what, I've let everybody speak all meeting, and I haven't said much, and it's fine. There was a whole room clapping that didn't want me to speak, and then they're right, I probably do talk too much, and I take over the room. And I'm not gonna deny it, I'm a talker, but I think we got a pretty good crew. I mean, I go back to when my dad was county commissioner, they hired diesel mechanics and truck drivers and hoped to train them into blade operators. And there's a few guys on our crew now that are pretty good blade operators that weren't blade operators when we hired them. So the philosophy that you guys got 2 weeks or 2 months, that's tough. Some of these guys didn't even push snow for the first year or two, because when Francis was here, he never even went through a winter. Dave Emmons didn't push snow for 2 years while I was here. He probably wasn't very good the first couple weeks he did it too. I mean, I talked to these guys, we got good guys, we don't have a bunch of thieves, we don't have a bunch of guys trying to rip people off and stuff. We just,
guys are good out there.
yeah, I know, and that's what I'm saying, and I think Skylar's doing as good a job as what he was left. He was left with a lot of roads that haven't gotten gravelled for years. Emmons County was always trying to gravel their own roads. We're one of the first commissioners that actually hired someone to gravel roads that wasn't a part of a project, like rebuilding a road or something. We're one of the first ones. And it does, and because we went to those 6 county meetings, and other counties are like, you guys try and gravel your own roads, are you nuts? You know, a lot of it's, he's the superintendent, all the blame does get shifted to him, it's worthy in a lot of cases too, it's his job, it's gotta make it better. But we can't just sit here and accuse employees and accuse employees and accuse employees and not do nothing about it. It's not right, and it's a horrible environment, it's a horrible energy. Either do something about it, punish them, fire the blade operators you got a problem with, or we need to move a different direction, because the mismanaging is coming here, because this circling firing squad of just complaining and complaining, and nobody coming up with a plan. You heard them, they want a plan. I'm not just talking about Skyler either, because we're the ones, this right here, this is our job, the budget. And a lot of times we go through and we talk during a storm, we're gonna do this, we're gonna give raises, we're gonna add blade guys. Then it comes time in June, July, and August, and we start cutting. And we do that because people also don't want us to raise taxes. It's a tough battle, but somebody's gonna have to be the bad guy on something. Instead of just bringing issues and then hoping someone else solves them. And then hoping Magrum talks long enough to come up with a solution, and then Magrum can get blamed for it, if that's what a lot of you guys like to do, because a lot of you guys like to talk, and then you look at me, and that's fine. I'm the chairman, nobody else seems to want it, I'll take the blame on some of it, a lot of it, it's fine, right? And I do talk too much, but either fire them or do something with it, or same with the road guys, or let's move on, right? Because there's 4 of you here, you're all able to make motions, I won't stop any of you from making a motion, but follow through with it, stick with it, or come up with a better plan. Because just interrogating guys over and over and treating them like trash, most of the guys can't even go to the bar and have a beer without someone interrogating them, treating them like trash. How do you think they're gonna respond? How are you gonna do a job? I mean, it's no different than you guys. How many of you guys can go somewhere and casually enjoy something? Right, and so, I'm not trying to say one thing or the other, I'm just telling you, that's the environment everybody's living in. And so, to act like there's no stress with it, everybody's just crapping on their job and nobody's doing it, it's not fair and it's not right to those guys out there. And
Well, I don't think it's most of the guys. Most of the guys are pretty good guys out there, I think. It's
I
just,
know, but you know, Don, I'm just gonna be, you've been awful critical today, you
Yes, I
know?
was.
And so do something, and make a motion, then again, or do
I
something.
guess, my opinion, I'm just gonna say it, I think most of the guys out there are pretty good. I don't know these new guys, how they go, but all those other guys, Dave Alex and all those guys, Al Holm, I mean, they all do good blading. They're good bladers. But I think it's the management part of it. I don't know what's going on, you know, Skylar, why they can't get it done. That's why I said, my opinion is that you should move down here. We set that up a long time ago, and we should stick behind what we said we were gonna do. That's just.
Yeah, but he said he's not gonna move down here, so you already know the answer to that, so then make a decision.
You guys were on the board. I wasn't part of the board when that took place, when you hired him, did your background check and on your interview.
Okay. Well, that was.
You all 3 on.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the deal. You're supposed to move down here. You had to tie it up.
And that good intent, because you told me that yourself, Scott, December,
Do you
January.
guys understand that I'm the only one that's ever been had to be fingerprinted here? Like, I've jumped through a lot of hoops to work here too, so just remember that.
You had to do what?
I had to get fingerprinted to work here as a
Why
road
was that?
superintendent. What's that?
Why was that?
Well, because it was a request from a citizen that I get a background check and fingerprinted. So, and I complied with that.
A request from the patrons, the people?
Correct.
And nothing to know, I know nothing about it.
So it's not just one side, I've jumped through a lot of hoops too to keep working here. I mean, really, for all the hatred and for 2.5 years trying to get rid of me, of trying to come up with this and that and sitting in front of this board and everything like that, like, I've dealt with a lot of it, so. And Commissioner Averly, you wanna know what's going on out there, is there's not enough manpower and everything is coming to the end of its life expectancy.
Yeah, well,
Like culverts are, like this spring, instead of blading roads, we were putting in 8 culverts on a line, or on a road down by Francis Gabriel's that was promised to you, or promised to him from you 8 years ago when you first started running. Well, that's 8 culverts we put on that road. Guess where those guys come from to do that? Was from the road department, was from blading and stuff like that. We've also had to fix 2 concrete ones that were collapsing by Gold Daddies there that happened recently in the last month, right? So those had to be reset by the road crew, which were the blade operators and everything like that, to help out on that. So it's like a 3-man crew to go out there and set those culverts and hammer drill them back in.